Hi, this is Bryant with a quick message before we start the show. First, I wanted to apologize for how long it took to edit this episode that we originally recorded in October. So a lot of the information is a little out of date, especially the part at the end where we talk about the upcoming election. So, sorry about that. It's also a pretty long episode, so I'll put some timestamps in the show notes so you can skip ahead to whatever segment you want to listen to. I also wanted to give you a heads up. We're planning on taking some time off in December and January for holidays. But we already have 2 episodes recorded and ready to edit whenever we get around to that. So in theory, it shouldn't be too much of a break, but just, warning, we might be gone for, a month or 2. We'll see. But in that time that we have off, we're going to try and change around some of the ways we do things to try and streamline the process. So hopefully we'll have, episodes coming out in a more regular manner. We haven't totally figured out what those changes are going to be. We have a few ideas that we're working out right now. But I don't know. Maybe this will end up like my New Year's resolution to, go to the gym every day. Hopefully it'll be a little more successful than that. I also wanted to say again, if you have any tips or suggestions for us, or if you want to be on the show as a guest, email us at carsandcomrades@gmail.com. Any and all submissions will be considered, no matter how silly. And then lastly, on a personal note, I'm planning a trip to Cuba in January. Hopefully that works out. I'm still a little up in the air on the details or how it's going to work. So please also write in if you have any tips or suggestions, especially if you understand all the regulations and rules on the, travel regulations on American citizens. I'm trying to, figure out how to comply with the, quote, support for the Cuban people provision, so I don't get in trouble with the U.S. Treasury Department. So hopefully we'll see. Maybe I'll have some reporting on the cars in Cuba. So I don't know. No promises, though. All right, on to the regular episode now.
All profit is value extraction, and that means that all profit is theft from you.
Corporate America is on welfare, and we've got to get them off welfare.
A revolutionary, and you're gonna have to keep on saying that.
Welcome to Cars and Comrades, your favorite and probably only socialist car podcast. Today we're going to be doing a little news episode, and we've got the whole crew here, plus our favorite returning guest, Alex, the actual competent mechanic among us. So
Whoa.
Professional, at least, right?
Yeah.
I'm just a hack with a plaque, they say.
There you go.
Yeah.
I saw you posting pictures of replacing Porsche suspension this week. Shut the fuck up.
I only stripped one bolt.
Maybe on this news episode you can finally answer the question, is it Porsche or Porsche?
We'll get to that later. Keep watching.
All right. Well, then in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get started with our car updates. And I think this week we're going to start with Zach.
Oh, all right. Yeah, cool. I had a big car update since the last time we spoke. The engine in my Subaru decided to do a big old blow-up job, and it's no longer working. So Subaru's doing Subaru things.
Sorry to hear that, man. But yeah, insert all the Subaru jokes here.
Yeah, it wasn't head gaskets, so we can lay that one to rest. Subaru turbo motors don't have head gasket issues. I've said it a million times. If I've said it once, they do not have head gasket issues. It's the older NAs. Anyway, side tangent aside, I was able to get a Facebook Marketplace long block for like $500. And so that's what I've been up to. I've been pulling the old motor with the help of Bryant and some other folks. and getting the new one all set up with all my Go Fast parts, because I've had a stack of parts to put on this car for probably about a year and a half now, and the stack was continuing to grow, and none of them were going on. So this gave me a great opportunity to pull all that stuff out of storage and start putting it on the motor.
Why is it so much easier to buy stuff than to actually put it on?
Oh my God, I don't know. You're absolutely right about that, though. It's so much easier to just buy parts and be like, oh, this would be really cool to have. I want these, and buy it, and then it just shows up at your door. It's great.
I love how like it's in the box in a garage or in a storage unit or something. And you're just like, man, my car is going to be so cool eventually, and it's like you have it, but you just haven't done the work. You're just like, yeah, it's almost like it's already there, kind of like technically I even have it, so it's kind of like I already have that power, really. You know, when you think about it, I already have the supercharger because it's in the box. You know, whatever it is, I do love that feeling.
My car basically makes 500 horsepower right now with all the parts I have for it. You know, if I just tore everything apart, put all the new parts on, got it tuned, got it figured out, yeah, it's basically there already.
That makes me think of the 99 cubic inch shovel head motor that I have in my attic in like 6 different boxes.
Yeah.
So did it like blow up, or like we got a nasty knock, but it still runs?
It's got a real bad knock. It would crank but not start, so it won't even run. And upon disassembly, Bryant actually discovered that the timing belt tensioner, the bolt that holds it to the block, snapped. So it definitely lost timing. I'm guessing some pistons and some valves had some real romantic evenings and kissed one another and got all up in each other's business.
I think maybe it was a little bit rougher than kissing, I think.
Yeah, sounds like it might have been some
I'm
domestic
not going to kink shame
violence.
your engine.
Yeah, they're into rough stuff, I guess, because they got...
Sounds like your valves might have ripped your piston a new one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened.
Were you driving spiritedly, or was it just like cruising?
No.
That's the worst part.
Just on the way to the theater, we were going to go watch a play, and me and my partner, and I was like, is that sound coming from my car? And I like turned off the music, and when I turned off the music, we were driving, and it sounded fine. I was like, okay, maybe that wasn't me. We got to a stoplight, and it was like, tick, 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 just getting louder and louder and louder. I was like, oh no. And then it's just deafeningly loud, and we like limped it to the next stoplight, and it just shut off, and then crank, no start. So,
yeah,
it was real sad one. Wasn't even doing anything fun. Just on the way to the theater. That's it.
Did you make it to the show?
We did. Yeah, we did
Nice.
make it to the show. We got the second half, so we made it at intermission, but we still got to see it. I was thinking the whole time I was watching this play, I was like, man, a lot of stuff is happening that doesn't feel very justified to happen. Like, there's no context. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I've missed half of this play. That's why it feels that way.
Honestly, I think sometimes I hate cars more than I like them.
We all feel that way.
Yeah.
Or you hate yourself for liking cars.
We should create like a graphic. This is a complete side tangent, but like if we never do merch, we should at least create the graphic with like the anti-social social club.
The anti-car club.
Yeah, the car-hating car guy club.
I like that.
No cars allowed.
No cars allowed in this car club because they fucking suck and they break your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I'm actually getting all my Go Fast parts on the car now. So it's got the motor's still out, but I've got a FP green turbo on there, Tomei unequal length headers with a custom up pipe for a 38 millimeter wastegate, which I have the 38 millimeter wastegate and the dump tube all set up on there. Got a silicone turbo inlet, Killer Bee oil pan pickup and baffle. All kinds of parts on there. And
Naming all
more
the
to come.
fancy parts your car has, but engine isn't on the list.
Engine is not on the list currently. Well, they're all on the engine. The engine's just not currently in the car. This is actually something I wanted to talk to you about, Brandon. So the next purchase on my list is definitely going to be a cage. And if you're still down, I would still love to have you come out and weld that in for me.
I mean, it'll depend on timing. But if I can make it work, I'll absolutely come up with an excuse to come out there and weld up at the cage for you.
Oh, hell yeah. And I mean, I've got a year until the rally season really starts, so a little under a year now. But yeah, we've got plenty of time to make it work. So
yeah, that gives me almost a year to put off doing the research on this. Then that's sick.
It's okay. You'll just crush all the research on the flight over here. You'll just download it all and just read through it on the flight out here, and you'll be good.
I like how that's what you want your guy to do that's going to put in the roll cage.
I wouldn't have it any other way. That's the way I operate, so, you know, that's the way I want it to happen.
In the form of racing where you're, like, pretty likely to flip over and have to use it.
Yep. It's not a matter of if, but when in rally, when you roll the car, so.
Yep.
I mean, you're buying a kit, and it just needs welded, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all pre-bent. It's all sized for the chassis. I'm assuming they'll have the bars labeled when I get it. So it's like, you know, hoop, halo, rear, you know, give a little blueprint in there, rear, left, lower.
For sure. Kits are notoriously bolt in and forget about it.
Yeah, totally. They're always super easy, right?
I mean, hey, if you got a welder and an angle grinder, we'll get it done.
Hell yeah. But yeah, I got a lot of recommendations to actually leave the motor out while I was having the cage welded in, because there is a chance that the kit will require us to go through the firewall to tie in the front struts. And obviously, you can't really do that with an engine in the way. So
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
My level of comfort would be if I had to go put a cage in the Cutlass, I would feel fine about it. I don't know Subarus well enough to say, like, yeah, I could go do that. Like, I've already pretty thoroughly brainstormed a cage for my 65 whenever I get around to working on my drag van again. I've, like, hung out with some drag friends and, like, took a lot of photos of how they, like, tied in cages to different, like, unibody setups and stuff like that. So, like,
right.
I feel like that's a lot different, because that's like old school guys who are really having to like be like, how the fuck do I do this, because it was not meant for it. I feel like modern stuff,
right.
it's actually a little bit more straightforward. So, I mean, yeah, I'll look into it some. And
I mean, really, like, to be a little bit optimistic about it, I think that for modern stuff, like a Subaru, they've laser scanned it, they've built out a cage with a real world car and then just use that as a template. So it really should be, and again, I'm being optimistic, pretty straightforward just to slap it in there. Everything should go and fit where it should, how it should.
Just very much in the wheelhouse of this show, I'm going to go ahead and point out that is how it should be. However, unfortunately, we do live in capitalism.
That's true.
All too often, that is not how they approach making products for us to buy and waste our money on. So
this is very true.
I'm optimistic as well. I have the same feeling. I'm like, well, they're obviously not going to sell it if they didn't like test it out a little bit or like do any work with this. But we do live in capitalism, so keep that in mind.
In Zach's defense, he did say "should" like 8 times.
It should.
Yeah.
All things in a perfect world. If everything's a perfect sphere with no wind resistance, this problem is really simple, right?
Yeah, I got you, man. We'll talk more in depth, because my entire limitation is having time off, because I'm learning that I was absolutely lied to about how much time I'll get off at this job.
Oh, that's fucking great.
Yeah, sounds like it keeps getting better over there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I can get into it a little bit in a minute.
Yeah. Not to drag mine out too much further, but another big update in my life is I lost my job. So I'm currently in the job market.
God damn it.
Had a few interviews already, and I have another second round interview coming up on Tuesday, so things are looking okay. It's only been like 2 weeks, so not stressing out too bad now. I had a nice little savings set up, so I'm coasting for now, but yeah. Can't wait till the panic sets in, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully I get a job before that happens.
That's weird, because I was told the owner always takes all the risk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah,
I don't know how anyone who's ever had a job can repeat that. It really does dumbfound me. I'm like, no, I went into the working world and I really very quickly understood, like, oh shit, this is not what I was told in economics class. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being a good little bootlicker for a couple years there before I figured out what was actually going on.
Fun story about the owner taking all the risks. We had a crane failure at my work on Tuesday.
Doesn't sound good.
It was only a few hundred pounds, but it was under the supervision of the customer that the part was for.
Oh.
It has fucked up my job irrevocably because they are now filing multiple breaches of contract.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Wait,
and this is like our 8th crane failure this year.
Oh, that's entirely too many.
Yeah, they gotta change something. That's not okay.
They've been trying.
Wait, so what is failing on the crane?
The rigging.
Like the cable is snapping?
We had a fixture for lifting a certain part, and I've heard management says it was removed from service and somebody pulled off the red tag and put it back in service.
Oh no.
Nice.
The workers
Wait, so this is the same crane that's failed 8 times? Or are these different cranes failing?
When I say crane failure as a generic thing, the crane itself has not failed. The rigging has failed in some way. It was either rigged improperly. It has, on at least one occasion, it has slid off the rigging, and that part weighed close to 200,000 pounds that happened with.
Holy shit.
Oh my
God.
So in this instance last week, a fixture that should never have even been used once was used for years. There was a nut holding it on that had no cotter pin to prevent it from backing out, and so the nut eventually backed out and slipped free and dropped the part. And everybody at my job is like basically saying like, "Oh, the customer's being such a drama queen," and I'm like, the first time that they've ever come here, a part fell off of the crane in front of them.
But it happens all the time, so it's not a big deal. It's happened 7 other times, so.
Hey, I think this is only like the 3rd crane failure in the last few months.
That's still so bad. Like, I don't think they're being dramatic enough about this. That's a 200,000 pound part fell off of a crane. That's horrifying.
This one was only a few hundred.
What is a 200,000 pound part anyway? Is that like a skyscraper? I don't understand. Like, I have no frame of reference. What the fuck is that?
That is 100 tons.
What weighs 100 tons that is not a building?
I'm thinking like an angle iron beam that goes across a building, like a skyscraper type.
Nuclear containment.
Even better.
A storage container for nuclear waste rods.
Okay.
I guess you want that to be kind of heavy duty.
Well, they're big, they're large. They have to hold like gases and fluids to like prevent things from leaking radiation. They're made out of like half carbon steel and half stainless. Stainless is just heavy in its own, and they're big. I mean, you're talking about something that's like, shit, I don't even know, man. Like 15 to 20 foot diameter.
God damn.
And yeah, like the length of a flatbed.
Okay, yeah, that's huge.
Those have to be lead lined too, don't they?
No.
Or is that after you guys?
I don't know. I don't really know that much about it because they don't tell us. So they either give us so much information that you don't know what to do with it, or very little. In the sense that like I don't actually need to know how the whole thing goes together and is made. I just need to know what my portion of the blueprint tells me to do, and be able to make
Right,
that
yeah.
effectively.
Right.
There's a lot of ways that my job is actually kind of cool. It's just there's even more ways where it sucks dick.
Yeah. As all jobs do.
Yeah.
You know, quick side tangent, but Brandon, that reminded me of when I was a kid. My friend's dad had a Jeep Wrangler that he took it to a mechanic, and they dropped it off the lift, like it fell off the lift.
Oh.
And it was fine because it's a tough Jeep Wrangler.
That's what they tried to tell him. They're like, oh, it's built to do these things. It's fine. And he's like, no, the frame is bent. What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my god.
No, now you just have extra suspension travel on one side.
We'll just knock it off the lift the other way.
Did he have that tire cover that says, like, if you can read this, roll me over? Because that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I don't remember. This is a long time ago. And what were you saying, Zach?
I was just going to say, we'll knock it off the lift on the other direction. And
Oh, yeah.
bend that side of the frame so it's even. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have for my updates. Are we going reverse order then?
Yeah, I think so. That way we can finish
Cool.
up with Alex, because he's got a bit more to his update. So, I think that means I'm next.
It does indeed.
All right. Well, so I really don't have any updates on the Camaro. It hasn't sold yet, so probably a little price too high. So I've got to, I don't know, call them, say, I don't know, lower the price, whatever. But yeah, that's not selling. But that's, I don't know. I expected it to be there for a while, so no real updates there.
What if you don't mind me asking and saying to everyone else that might be listening, what did you have it listed for?
So I had it listed for $38,000.
Okay.
I'm fucking with you. It's not listed that high.
Okay, I was like, damn, that's high, but okay.
No.
Ambitious.
That might be your problem.
No. It is still an ambitious price because they put their markup on and everything. So on the website, it is listed at $22,000, and I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, that's a little bit steep.
Yeah.
That's for me to take 17 on it, which I mean is obviously a loss for me, but it's great to have that money in my pocket. So,
Yeah.
but I may have to take a little bit more of a hit. They said I think a lot of people will wait until the price drops before they bid on it at all anyway. So kind of a standard thing that the price needs to drop at some point. So yeah, that just needs to happen. I also have to have them update the description again for the second time, because even though I told them, hey, you should probably include this information about how it has a forked 9-inch rear end, because that's kind of important, they did not include it. So I'm like, well, you should probably include that. And this is a warning to anybody who's listening. After this experience, I can tell you confidently I would not buy a car from a consignment place like this. I'm sorry, it's crazy to me that they are not the things that they are not mentioning in this description. I'm like, I mean, maybe if you ask, they'll tell you, but that's fucking crazy that they would just let someone buy this car and have who knows nothing about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't let that happen to you. Go look at the car in person, and I don't know. It just seems weird that there's so much info that they don't include and don't seem to know. So, buyer beware on that. But anyway, no real updates there. The 350Z, also no real updates. I've been very lazy. I have not been, I have half the car kind of buffed, but I did some wet sanding and stuff, and I still haven't buffed all of it out. I've just been lazy. I'm like, I'm doing it a little at a time, and I've been very lazy, so I haven't touched that in a few weeks. No updates there. I was going to change my brake lines out, and I still haven't done that, so these are all things that are coming eventually, but I just have not been in a hurry to do them. I am supposed to go drift in a couple weeks at my favorite track, US Air, so, that'll be the season closer, basically. So, hopefully I'll be ready for that. But yeah, so nothing much. I do still have more to my car update though, and it's not really my car update. It's about how I spent my day yesterday with my partner's mom buying a new car. Or,
that's always
car.
a fun experience.
Yeah, it was.
Wait, they make new cars?
This car is
No. Everything stopped in the 80s, Brandon. Everything stopped in the 80s.
They made cars in the 80s?
So it was fine. We found, she was looking for something that was kind of like a small SUV crossover kind of thing. And so, we looked ahead of time, and I kind of already said, okay, it looks like a Honda HR-V is probably your best bet. We'll test drive a CR-V as well, which is like a slightly bigger, more expensive version of it. And honestly, kind of sucks compared to the HR-V. The HR-V had like better cargo space and everything than the CR-V, which was larger. The seats folded down better, and they also fold up weirdly. It was very cool. But yeah, the CR-V just wasn't that impressive, and it was way more expensive. So the HR-V was a pretty good, was definitely a pretty good choice. And that isn't what she ended up going with. So we test drove. I think we test drove 4 cars: a 2016 HR-V, a 2021 HR-V, a CR-V, I forget what year, and then a 2021 RAV4 just for comparison. The RAV4 to me feels like kind of a tank. I didn't like it personally, but like I could probably come to like it. I don't know. It's just it felt a lot bigger than and heavier than it needed to, in my opinion. So yeah, I just wasn't that overly impressed with it. But she ended up buying a 2021 HR-V with like 50,000 miles, and I think it was like it was listed for under 20,000. But of course, you get to the money talk, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, what the fuck is this charge? What's this? What's going on here? And it's like, so the whole experience, I'll try and keep it quick, but we got there at about 9:30 or 9:45, and I'm trying to look through my text to see when exactly we left, but it was quite a bit later than I was expecting. So, let's see. Okay, it says, all right, we're going. So we left at 10 after 5. So,
oh my god! You were there all day.
We were there all day.
Full work day.
Yeah.
A full work day of being at the car dealership. That is...
Yes.
Oh, that's too much.
A nearly full day. And honestly, so we got out of there at like 10 after 5. We knew which car we were trying to buy by like 1:30, which also seemed like, admittedly, that part I was like, damn, it seems like we've been here for 2 hours, but we've been here for like 3.5 or whatever the fuck it was. I was like, damn, that's crazy how time flew. And that was just, I mean, no part of the process, well, several parts felt slow, but like the salesperson, I kind of felt bad for the guy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how the salespeople do, if they're doing well or not, but it seems like they can probably really realistically only sell a car per day. And I was like, damn, on a Saturday, that kind of fucking sucks. Like, this should be your day to sell most of your cars. And this guy had to do everything. He had to go get the cars. He had to park them up, and he had to show us everything, spend all this time with us. He had to show us all this loan stuff. And I was like, dude, like, don't they have other people that do this shit? Like, why are you doing all this? Like, you've been with us for 4 hours. Like, we know what car we want. Like, go sell another, dude. And he couldn't, like, he had to do all this shit. And I was like, damn, that's, I hope they pay you well for this one sale you're going to get today. But, yeah, so we test drove a few, and then, we were kind of stuck between the two, the 2016 HR-V and the 2021 HR-V. The 2016 had like 35,000 miles, which is really, really low, but it's a few years older. The 2019 was 2021 was 5 years newer, and it only had 15,000 extra miles. So I was like, well, that seems pretty good. Of course, it couldn't be certified pre-owned because it has an open recall on it that Honda it's unclear. They were kind of cagey about it, whether or not Honda actually has a fix for it or not, but they're like, basically, if this light comes on, then we'll fix it, or whatever. And it was a whole thing. I was like, it felt weird. I was like, this, I don't know, y'all being cagey about this shit. Which I didn't love, but I was like, well, whatever, it's fine. And it's Honda's decision to do this, apparently. I don't know. Anyway, so it was a whole thing. I tried to negotiate a little bit, and it was very clear. They're like, nope, we don't really haggle here. And I was like, you know, and they have signs like right on the desk about like how they don't have a no haggle price. And I was like, all right, I can't get much off of this. And I didn't have terribly too much luck. They did. One of the things that they're, you know, that kind of pissed me off was, you know, they have it listed online and then for a certain price, and then you get to the price, and I was like, wait, what the fuck is this? Like, oh, well, that's the ceramic coating we put on the car. And I was like, okay, cool, we don't want that. For $1,000, you can go ahead and not do that. Like, we already did it. Yeah. And I'm like, you did that to every car? Yeah. And you can't take it off? No. And I was like, so then that's not the price of the car. Like, the price of the car is this price plus the $1,000 for this fucking $5 of wax you sprayed on. And he was like, oh, it's not a wax. It's better. He goes on, and I was like, dude, that's a wax. Like, that's a fancy wax. The fuck are you talking about?
I would have just been like, hey, here's the price that you listed the car for, and I'm not trying to haggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't like to haggle.
Yeah, I should have. Maybe I should have been a little tougher with that, but I was like, whatever.
Does it at least come with? Because I know when dealers try to sell you that crap, it's like, yeah, it's $1,000, but you know, we'll cover, since it's so protective, like we'll cover any paint defects for 5 years. Or was it just like, no, it's a wax, it's $1,000, nothing comes with it?
It was basically that, and it's like, well, you can't remove it. It's like, all right. They were trying to also sell us the undercoating. I was like, okay, no, go get rid of that. We're not taking that. Okay, take that off. And, you know, I was like, you know, take something off this fucking, you know, the price. He's like, all right, I drop it $100. I was like, well, yeah, all right, do that at least. But yeah, we didn't have too much room to haggle, and when looking for comparables, like other options that like, oh, we can go to this deal. Honestly, it was kind of like, all right, we did pick the best deal to go to first. So there were no good comparables. Like, it wasn't like I could pull up and be like, I can just go to this dealer. It was like, nope, these are definitely the best deals that we found by a pretty good margin. So it was kind of just like...
If you did a 3-year payment plan, $100 is like $1 a month. $2?
Yeah, I wanted something off, but yeah, it wasn't much, man.
I will get that $1 a month, goddammit.
I will get something. Look, that said, so like the experience was like not the best, but what I will say is like for what she ended up getting, and with a actually good 5-year warranty on top of it, her payment is, you know, under her budget that she wanted. She got a car that was much newer than she expected, with lower miles than she expected. Honestly, than I expected as well. So, like, all in all, her payment is under $300 a month for an almost new car. And honestly, it is a good car. I drove it and everything. It feels good. It's
she did get the HRV then?
Yeah, she went with the 2021 HRV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And honestly, I drove it. It's a good car. Very annoyingly, it's shockingly somehow, it is 400 to 500 pounds lighter than my 2-seat sports car.
What?
Yeah,
Aren't these like notoriously heavy though?
They are. I mean, I think so. Yeah, it's like 2,700 or 2,800 pounds. Is the HRV, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it have all-wheel drive, or is it front-wheel drive?
All-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive.
Damn.
No shit. That's
I don't know how
crazy.
it's possible. Look, I don't know if I like. Maybe I read a bad source or something. I saw it in one place real quick, but yeah, that's what I saw. 2,700 to 2,800 pounds. I was like, I don't know how the fuck they do it, but now I'm even more mad that my Z is that heavy.
Right.
That doesn't seem real, but I mean, it is a Honda.
It's a Honda. I think that's kind of what the thing is.
I think my Cutlass weighs like 3,200 pounds.
Less safety crap to weigh you down.
Well, anyway,
so that's 2025.
Yeah, the 2025 is much bigger.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's the generation before that.
Okay.
I think that's based off the Honda Fit platform, right?
Yep. Yep. It's like it's like a Honda Fit but SUV-ified.
Lifted.
Google is telling me 2,900 to 3,150 pounds.
Oh,
That's
okay.
crazy though. It's 2,900. That's light for that car.
Yeah, that's still extremely light for an all-wheel drive.
So
SUV.
is she gonna like boost it with a K series swap?
I said, look, you have these options to make it a performance monster on the track, but I do recommend you don't do that because you shouldn't listen to me about anything else. I'll help you buy the car. Don't take any more of my advice.
I'll get you $100 off. Don't call me after that.
So yeah. Anyway, so we knew what we needed, and then we had to wait like another hour and a half to get to the financing office. It was a whole it was a whole thing. We ended up waiting and waiting all this shit. So it took us. We were there all fucking day, which was a fucking bummer. So anyway, we left with a car. It's a good car. I think she's gonna be happy with it for a long time. So that's all good. Then to drag this on even longer, there's the other part of my car dealership experience. Since my sales guy already was like, oh yeah, this is the only car I'm selling today. Like, he's like, there's no chance of me do anything else. And I was like, well, all right, depending on how long this takes, you want to find me something sporty, we can go fucking do a test drive. And I was like, yeah, maybe I can look at a Type R or a SI or something. He's like, oh, unfortunately, they're in the showroom. I could see them. But he's like, those are the only ones we have, so you can't test drive those. I was like, oh, bummer. He's like, but, we do. I was like, oh, what about that Supra out there? Because they had a 2023 Supra.
Ooh.
So I did test drive the blue 2023 Supra, and I gotta say, it fucking surprised me. I was very impressed. So yeah, funny enough, they like had the dealer papers with like all the car information like on the windshield, blocking like half of it, and I was like, I feel like this isn't safe. In a car that already, admittedly, has terrible visibility. The Supra, bad visibility. Which I like in a sports car. But, I was like, yeah, this isn't safe to cover up the windshield with that and to just let some random person drive it. But let's go. So, it was an automatic version, which is the faster version. And I can see why. I'm like, yeah, there's probably no way I could shift this quick. But... it was the 3-liter turbo, which is rated 382 horsepower, at the crank. I don't know if that's like an underrating or whatever. That car feels way faster than I would expect. Because in terms of like power numbers, it's putting similar numbers to my Z and weighs about the same, maybe even a little more. But it got up to speed real fast. It was on like Michelin Pilot Sports tires as well. So they were good tires, and when that turbo kicked in, the car got squirrely every single time. Like, I was like, damn, this feels like a little unsafe. Much more than I was expecting. But yeah, I like came off, and I was driving, I was getting on it a little bit, but I wasn't going crazy. I'm like, whatever. I'm not drifting it or anything, but I came off of a fucking stoplight around a turn. So like I make the turn, I finish it going 25, 30 or whatever. And then I hit the gas and we got up to fucking 78 miles an hour in, I don't know, it felt like 2 seconds. I was like, what the fuck? How are we going this fast already?
Oh yeah.
You think it was tuned?
Yeah. So it's possible.
Yeah,
it
was like a trade-in or whatever?
It must... I mean, yeah, it had to be, so...
Yeah.
I might have had a tune on it. I don't know, but the thing was... It was quick.
They look great, too.
I think it is a really good-looking car. I really do.
I'll be the one
I
to say
enjoy
I
its
don't
styling
like it.
a lot. Ooh.
Brian, you just say you don't like it?
No, I don't care for the new Supra. It's not my style.
All right, well...
People either like it or don't. Like, there's no one in between that I've
No, that's true. That's definitely true. But the interior was very, very nice. And also, which I didn't know it had this, it has the coolest heads-up display I have ever seen. Mm-hmm. Like, it's got... So, a heads-up display is where it, like, displays your speed or your tachometer or something on the windshield. But, like, it looked like it was like at the end of the hood of the car. I don't know how they managed it, like how they got that effect, but it looks like it's way out on the hood. And so I don't know. It was clear, and you could see it very clearly. So like, I'm just driving really fucking fast, and all of a sudden I can go, oh yeah, I'm going like 80 miles an hour on the fucking street here. Like, so it was.
Was the dealership guy with you?
Yeah.
How did he feel about this?
He felt fine. Oh, he was a younger guy, younger than me. But yeah, as soon as I was like, let's go drive this fucking Supra, he's like, yeah, he's like, I haven't been in it yet. He's like, yeah.
You want to get out of the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, you ain't selling another car. Let's fucking go for a ride. I'm like, I'll need a daily at some point. Let's go.
You had a daily.
Yeah, I'm sure you would never modify it if you bought one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I drove it. It was nice. My rating on it is, it surprised me. I thought they were cool already. I already liked them, but after driving one, I was like, oh shit. Okay.
You know what we're gonna ask?
I don't know what you're gonna ask.
How many monies?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Too many monies.
Yeah.
Yeah, too many. This one, it's like the 3-liter with the turbo, and it's the premium something or other. I didn't really ask any questions about the submodel, but my partner was like, yeah, that's like a premium whatever, something edition or some shit, whatever. But yeah, it was $52,000 for a 2023. Okay. And I was like, yeah, that's
less than I thought you were going to say.
Honestly, I was expecting 60 at least.
Oh, no. I mean, that's not even for a brand new one.
How many miles were on it?
I never even bothered to look. I didn't give a shit. Maybe I should look it up right now. But yeah, it's interesting how fast it was. And I looked it up later because I was like, I gotta know. And I'm like, what is like the 0 to 60 time on it? And it's like 3.7 seconds. And I'm like, jeez, that's crazy. Because like it should, in theory, put similar power numbers to the wheels that my car does, and I'm fairly certain my car cannot do that. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the tires or something. I don't know, but I'm like, my car doesn't feel that way. No chance.
Well, and I think a lot of those times are basically they're flogging the shit out of that car.
Yeah, those times I generally find you're unable to achieve them if you're a normal person.
Right.
Like I've never, but like the times that for my car stock, granted 20 years ago, also by professional driver, was like 5.7 seconds 0 to 60. So I mean that's quite a bit slower, but obviously I have more power than that by kind of a lot. But yeah, it was. Let me see if I can find the Supra and see if I can tell you the mileage. But yeah, it was $52,000, so it's an expensive fucking car. There's no way around that. But I mean, besides that, it was pretty fucking cool. I was very impressed. I expected it to be quick. I figured I was gonna like it. But yeah, it was quite a bit better than I was expecting. All right, yeah, so it's actually 52,990 whatever. So it's 53,000, and let's see, it's got.
Then after you get the ceramic coating and the undercoating.
Yeah, you can count on that. But yeah, it says it's got.
It's gonna be 63 out the door, man.
Well, this is a premium car, so it's got to have the premium ceramic coating and the premium undercoating. So
naturally, yeah. So it's got under 6,000 miles on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
basically a new car. I mean, it
is basically new, and it was very cool. It was blue, and it was fucking sick, man. That's all I can say. Is it was cool as hell. And when they depreciate sufficiently in the next 6 to 7 years, I would genuinely consider getting one. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they just introduced the manual model in 2024, I think. Because they were automatic only for the first few years there. So once those manual models come down, I would consider it. If I'm going to buy a sports car, it's going to be a manual transmission. I don't care if it's a little faster with an automatic.
Same.
I want to shift gears. It's fun.
That's what I like too. So, that's just like, I know it's slower, but I like it. So, anyway, that was my car buying experience. It took all fucking day. It was and it shouldn't have. There was no reason it needed to take that long. But then also I drove a Supra, so sorry that took so long. But there's my updates.
Hell
Nice. Sounds like not a bad day overall, honestly.
No, it wasn't
Actually,
too
that day
bad.
sounds like a nightmare, but with a cherry on top.
Yes.
Yeah.
It could have
Yeah.
been worse.
Could have been worse, for sure.
If I spent 8 hours at a car dealership, I would lose my mind.
I swear they do that intentionally, like, because by the time you get to the actual office where you're signing the papers, you're like, I just want to get the fuck out of here. Sure, yeah, whatever.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I can
They wear
promise
you
you
down.
that feeling was there.
In my head, that gives me all the power because of my willingness to walk away.
Yeah.
And it definitely works. If you're like, yeah, you know what, I think I'm going to go have lunch and think about it, they'll like hunt you down, and you definitely have the power then. You don't have the power when you really, really want the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, fortunately, I have plenty already, so...
Feel that.
That's why I hate buying stuff that's like a 3-hour drive away, because then they do have all the power. They know you were willing to drive 3 hours to even look at this. They know that they have you.
Yeah, there's no. You're like, all right, look, I'm negotiating, but it's a formality. We know this. You have to take something off. I'm not really gonna leave. Come on. Let's do each other a favor here.
Get it over with.
But anyway, I guess that's Bryant is next.
Yeah. So I haven't been doing a whole lot because my garage is being worked on right now. So the condo HOA, whatever, is doing some like exterior work on the place, but they had to like tear apart the garage to like check the structure of the floor above the garage or whatever. And so the city has to come by and inspect the beams, and then they have to put the drywall back on and stuff. So basically I've got a giant pile of insulation in one corner of my garage and a big hole in the ceiling. So I'm not going to do any work on my car until that's finished up. But I am...
Oh, you don't want fiberglass dust all over you?
I'd rather not. But I am moving forward with an electrician to put in a level 2 charger in my garage. So that will
Oh, nice.
cut the recharge time on the electric car down to about a quarter of what it is right now, I want to say. So, and it should also be like an upgrade from the 1970s aluminum wiring that it's plugged into right now. So hopefully it won't burn down the house when it's, pulling 40 amps or whatever.
Good.
Yeah. So I forget if I talked about the MR2 last time, but it's got some electrical problems that I need to figure out, and I took it to someone that specialized in that, and they're like, yeah, it's this piece in the wiring harness you need to resolder. If you want me to do it, it's going to be $500. And I'm like, okay, I will do that. But I just haven't had time to put it into the garage and, crawl up underneath into the driver's side footwell to resolder that part. It's part of the wiring harness. You can't take it out, really. So I'm going to
You
have
have to like solder it above your head.
Pretty much, yeah.
I would have paid $500 for that very easily. Also because I don't fuck around with electrical, but yeah, soldering above my head with my head down there, no thanks.
Yeah.
No. Couldn't pay me to do that.
It's not like directly over my head. It's just kind of, I have to be in a very awkward position.
I hate doing any work in the footwells.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
You could have just stopped at I hate doing any work. And
That's where it sounded like he was going to say.
Yeah, that is true.
Oh, and speaking of having parts and not doing anything with them, I've got the steering rack for the Bolt sitting in the corner over there that I'm going to put in someday, and I'm also going to before I do that, I want to rebuild it, take it apart, clean it, and put in the Redline brand grease that is supposedly better than the stuff that GM put in there in the first place. But
Yeah.
other than that, I've just been researching suspension stuff.
Same.
I was telling Brandon and these guys that I was thinking it might be cool to put a Watts linkage from a Chevy Cruze in the rear axle of the Bolt. It would. I don't know if it would actually fit or if it would make the suspension bind up because it's not designed for that. But I don't know.
The math for Watts links is not that crazy, and you're a smart enough dude to figure it out. So you could modify it or whatever to make it work for you.
So the thing is, the Cruze has they're all torsion beam suspension, and they're pretty similar design. But on the Cruze, the pivot points are in a line, so that it's pretty just a normal pivot. But then on the Bolt, they're at an angle, sort of like the upper links on a triangulated 4-link axle. And I'm not entirely sure how that moves up and down without it, like bending the axle, or if it's just the compliance in the what do you call it, in the bushings that allows for that. But I don't know if I put the Watts linkage on it, if it would stiffen things up to a point where it wouldn't flex enough to go up and down. I don't think it would, because I think all it would do was make the left and the right flex at the same angle. You know what I mean?
I absolutely cannot visualize what you're describing.
I'm not sure if I understand it myself. So,
but also, I don't think that you're going to be able to say the right words to verbally express how a Watts link works.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm not familiar myself, so
it's math.
I was gonna ask.
I
was gonna ask if you could explain it real quickly, but then I heard all that and I was like, no, never mind. Don't do that. That's not gonna work.
A Watts linkage is just a mechanism to keep the axle centered in the body of the car as it travels up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
How it does that is math.
Yeah,
right.
It has two arms that go to the center, and then they're attached to a pivot that is attached to the body of the car. So as it goes up and down, those two arms, articulate at an angle, and then the pivot in the middle rotates, and it keeps everything. It keeps the left and the right at the same distance from the center as each other. And normally it's used on like a solid axle, like a beam axle. But I don't know how it works exactly on a torsion beam axle.
Yeah, I'm looking up images of it right now. Apparently the Ford Ranger Raptor has a Watts link in the rear end.
Okay, yeah. A lot of...
So yeah, like a solid axle truck kind of thing.
A lot of solid axle cars and trucks have it. Like I think Crown Victoria's in the later generations had it, and Dodge Durango.
It's also like a thing you see on...
All vehicles known for their great handling characteristics.
So it's popular in the use of like slammed vehicles because it, like, if you're lowering a vehicle from ride height down to like laying frame, it looks bad if that much suspension travel causes the body to kick off by like an inch or something. So you use a Watts link to keep it perfectly centered when you lower it.
Ah, okay.
Interesting.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I don't know if it would even mount up. I mean, they're all pretty similar platforms. Is it the Gamma or Beta platform? GM platform. But like my car, the Bolt, is very similar to the Chevy Sonic and Chevy Trax SUV and the Buick Encore SUV, I think. Just with, various different things to make it an EV, basically.
The last time I was on here, you were talking about the seat being super uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever...
No, I haven't done anything with that yet. I probably should, but like basically my plan is to... There's a few people that have done this, that you basically take the cover off of the seat and you can add foam in certain areas and then put it all back, and it'll add support.
Have like a lumbar support and maybe some bolsters.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, basically, it kind of has bolsters, but they're like very narrow. So it's like I'm kind of not centered in the seat. It's like my body wants to like slip to one side or whatever, because like each side of my ass is like on a bolster basically, and the middle is kind of not touching 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if it's just the design is to make it like a lightweight seat or what they were trying to do with it. Because like there's plenty of room to make a wider seat that would be more comfortable. But I don't fucking know. Or what I could do is
just put a bucket seat in it.
Well,
just get a Sparco reclining bucket seat.
Just put a bench seat in it.
If it doesn't have it, so it has a side airbag in the seat itself. So if that's not plugged in, the engine computer is not going to be happy. So I have. There's one guy that took the seat from a Volt hybrid and switched basically all the wiring and airbag and everything from the EV into the other seat and got that to work. So I might end up doing that, but that's like $400 or $500 for one of those seats.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well just buy a bucket seat at that point and then just try to dummy the wire or something.
Right.
Like, make it see the airbag even though it's not there.
I'll just have the airbag
really
underneath the seat so that like when I crash, it like launches me up into the roof.
Just put it under the passenger. Put it under the passenger seat and wire it to a button. Ejectocito, cuz.
I know if I'm going to get in a bad accident, I would like to get as far away from it as possible.
Brandon, I think you have a problem running away from your problems.
Well, my entire life story would speak otherwise.
But yeah, that's about all I've got. I'm sure I could ramble on about weird Chevy suspension stuff for longer, but
Well, I'm about to.
What do you got?
Yeah, I'm at the new job. I'm struggling to stay afloat personally because every time I start something awful happens. So I got half my roof torn off. Actually, I had pretty much the whole roof torn off, and it's fine. It's a whole thing, but like.
And just to be clear for the listener, you did this yourself. It wasn't some act of nature that happened.
Yeah, no, my roof was leaking, so it's a small portion of roof, like a flat roof in the back of the house. So I'm just like, fuck it, I'll do it. It should only take the weekend. It did not only take the weekend. So by the time I actually got like to where I wanted to be 2 days later, then things started going smoothly. But then a series of unfortunate events occurred where I decided to take the afternoon after work off of to go get lunch with a friend of mine. And then I lost my keys to my shop where I went to go do some stuff. And I was like, fuck, grumble. And then on the way home, my brakes failed in the Cutlass. And I say failed very lightly. Like I didn't have no brakes. My booster failed. So I had little brakes. And I have finally kind of figured out why the Ford doesn't like to start if it hasn't been run for a week. And it's just that the mechanical pump loses all of its prime. And the engine's not turning over fast enough to prime the pump. So I bring that up specifically here because when I get home with my brakes all fucked up in the car, my first thought is, well, I haven't run the van in a few days. Let's go fire it up so it'll start in the morning when I go to work. I flooded the dog shit out of it.
Oh, no.
It flooded so bad that it wouldn't start for a day.
Oh, my God.
Was there like gas in the crankcase at that point, or?
I've flooded something so bad that there was gas in the oil pan before, but no, this it was. I think it's just because the engine is angled somewhat downward that if it floods, it pools at the back of a poorly designed intake and just dribbles into the rear cylinder. Yeah, so it's just it doesn't like to evaporate off, and it does like to leak into the cylinder, and then if it's a little bit flooded, it just floods again really fast. But yeah, so I assumed that it was going to have lost the prime on the pump, and so I got a little aggressive with pumping the gas, and it just, no. So I had to drive my car with no brakes to work the next day, because I'm still in my probationary period and trying to not fuck up. And, like, I've been sick for a week. That's also a fucking thing. I'm cool with missing work because I'm sick. I'm not cool with missing work because my car is fucked up, because that sets a precedent that I will follow through with.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if I'm not coming to work because I have a fever, they'll be like, yeah, we get it. And if I not come to work because I'm like, sorry, none of my vehicles started this morning, then they're going to accurately assess that maybe that's a personal problem in my life that might carry over past my this week.
They always know.
Yeah.
They always know. They're like, I'm sorry, your piece of shit car didn't get you here today? That doesn't seem good.
Well, so the pros and cons of this are, like, the place that I work at is large. It's an international company. So, like, they can be very strictly bureaucratic. Where, like, oh, you fucked up in the following ways, your job's over. But on a smaller scale, like, my actual boss loves me and is a car guy, so he very much understands the I can't get to work because everything is on fire. I work with a few car guys who are all like, yeah, sometimes just everything's on fire. Oh, what I did leave out was I think this was since the last time we recorded, because it's been a minute. One day I walked out into the parking lot of my work and realized that one of the bubbles around my fender looks a little worse than normal, and I put my finger through it. So basically half the driver's side body is cut off right now. Very much trying to not drive my van because it looks awful. Like, literally the entire rocker is cut off and about half of the rear wheel arch is cut off. I've been patching it up like piecemeal, because you can't buy like the fender arch. That's not available. I can buy a rocker, but fitment issues are suspect, and I have one that I've almost finished hammering out myself. So I don't know if it matches the contours well enough for me to want to use it, but I've got some ideas. It's between the fact that I only have half of a roof and 2 semi-functioning vehicles and a new job, I am drowning right now. And I've had a fever for 4 or 5 days. Off and on. It's just a sinus infection. I'm not, like, dying. But also trying to help out my neighbor who actually have pneumonia right now and has had a fever for 3 weeks.
Damn.
Not great.
Yeah. But in my, like, so, Brian, I was not getting upset with you in the group chat the other day. I just was not articulating myself well, I think.
No,
a WattsLink because of... Okay.
I was kind of fucking with you also, so sorry.
That didn't register to me immediately.
Okay.
A WattsLink would have to be mounted really weird on my van to function properly, because the axle is so much below the body and the frame.
Yeah.
The lower mount would have to be, like, really, like, hanging out in space, and just I wouldn't like it. But yeah, a while back I was researching rear suspension stuff for my Ford, because it's hard to find the leaf springs for it. And I finally found one company that sells them. It's Eaton Springs. They're good springs. They're $600 for the pair of leaf springs, half-ton leaf springs.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Ouch.
There's a local place that will make leaf springs for you. I've heard that what they will quote you over the phone is a lot less friendly than what they'll quote you if you just show up on a random day with a set of springs you need made. So I can look into that. But a friend of mine was like, hey, look how hard the mounts would be to cut off for your leaves. You could consider just converting them to, like, Chevy 1500 springs. That's a popular swap, and there are kits out there. But the thing is, like, there's actual, like, engineering behind leaf springs that I don't necessarily understand so well. Like, they're not quite as straightforward as people think. And they're probably not even quite as complicated as I think. It's just one of those things where, like, unless I know really well, I'm not going to try and do it. But one thing I do know pretty well already is 4-link. I'm very seriously considering putting 4-link in the back of my van.
Yeah.
I can't,
Dude,
like...
I think that's the way to go. Honestly, if you're going to keep it long term, and a set of leaves is $600, and then, you know, you have leaf spring problems still, or even, you know, if it's cheaper to have them made, I think 4-link is the way to go, man. It would
4-link has an
improve.
undeniable cool factor of, oh, I put 4-link in my van that still has barely more than solid axle front suspension. Like there's silly reasons to not do it. Like I don't even have a sway bar in this van. I can't find a front sway bar for it. So like I'm not eliminating real problems. The problem that I have is that if I can improve the actual like gear ratios and stuff on it, then I start around 65. I still have problems with suspension and steering. So I'm just trying to like one by one eliminate problems. Right now I get a lot of vibration, and I think it's because my springs are actually probably an inch or two sagged out, but somebody put on helper shocks that have the springs on them. So I think that there's like an inch or so of travel probably on those springs before it hits the leaf spring, like spring point. And so I think that it's creating driveline vibrations by like bouncing off of each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. Yeah. You've got just enough travel in the leaf to hit the helper, and then the helper rebounds the leaf back down, and it just keeps doing that over and over again.
I think you have it inverted, but either way, you have the general idea right. And okay. I think that is causing a lot of vibrations in certain circumstances. I'm trying to figure out a way to like. I think the actual way to determine this would be to pull off the helper springs and put leafs in, or I'm sorry, to put real shocks in it, and see how it rides. It would be sagged out, but if it's riding smoother, then I know that the springs are fighting against each other to do their jobs. Also, I don't know, man. 4-link would just be really cool.
And then you could go coil over front end.
I still have no idea how I would do that.
Just fab it up. I don't know.
On this vehicle, I have been struggling. I've been struggling to figure out how to do anything to my front suspension that doesn't require me gutting the floor pans and taking the van off the road for realistically the rest of its life, but optimistically a few months while I figured it out.
What is it? Is it the I-beam suspension or whatever?
It's the twin I-beam.
Yeah.
But also, like, just the way these vans are, there's just not a lot of room.
Yeah.
Like, because your tire is, I mean, like, the wheel well is literally next to my foot. It's next to the clutch pedal. Like, I'm over the wheels almost. So there's just not a lot of room to work. And I do think that there is a solution that's very doable, but it, at that point, becomes like a full customization project.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other weird benefit is there's so much open space between the transmission and the axle that there's a lot of room for me to like build mounts for the 4-link. So I think I should pretty easily be able to do a triangulated 4-link. And if I just butcher it and fuck it all up, I haven't actually interfered with anything. The spring mounts would still be there, and I could just say fuck this and throw them back on and do the normal car guy thing of put in a lot of money and effort and then change my mind and do something else expensive.
I mean, you could
go.
You could probably just use the spring mounts for the mounting the lower links on the 4-link. I think.
No, not really.
No? Okay.
I would have to mount the links onto the outside of the frame, and my plan was to do it all inside of the frame.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But also, again, if I just leave all of the old suspension mounts alone, that gives me a plan B if everything goes to shit and my design works out badly.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love having like an easy, accessible plan B. So I've been doing a lot more research, and the more reading I do on it, the more I'm like, yes, this is probably a really good option. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of downfalls to it. It's just picking a spring rate where I'm going to be happy with the quality of my ride and my ability to like actually haul things.
Yeah,
and if that's my worst problem, I'm fine.
That's the rough part of having something that can haul things is that you ride like shit when you're not hauling things. My F-250 bounces like a motherfucker.
Because it will be so easy to swap out the springs on these. A real part of me says, have 2 sets of coilovers. If I want to haul something, I throw in a shitty set. There you go. I'm not hauling stuff like heavy stuff so frequently that I think it wouldn't be worthwhile to just be like, I got to go pick up an engine today. I'm going to spend 30 minutes throwing in stiff springs. Yeah. A thing that would be a lot harder to do with leaves.
That's fair.
But anyway, I did end up getting the booster fixed for my car. was the easiest fucking thing in the world. Well, not really. Like, it went so smoothly. There were 4 bolts that were hard to get to, and I had the correct wrenches to get to them anyway. So I think it took me 20 minutes to get it out and another 40 minutes to get it all put back together. I think it's also why I'm sick, though, because I think it's why I'm sick, because I was like, I didn't intend to fix it. I was just driving the vans, and it was raining a little bit. So I think this is an ADD thing. I don't know. I like went out. I was like, I want to see how hard this is going to be to get back in, and it went in really easy. And I'm like, okay, well, if it's already in, I'm going to get all the nuts started. And it's like, okay, well, the nuts actually are all started, so I might as well get everything tightened down as well the night.
Yeah.
And so, like 40 minutes later, I'm just soaking wet, but my car is fixed, and I was like, oh well, that's good. And here's like, okay. I've oversold the doing research on the Ford suspension and undersold the fact that like my Cutlass has had shitty brakes for its entire life. They have 3 times nearly caused me to have an accident. 2 times because I was doing like highway speed downhill and had to come to a full stop for a red light, and I assumed that I was getting really bad brake fade from the front drums that made it so that I was not effectively able to stop by the red light.
Oh, that's terrifying.
I barely coasted into the intersection twice. And a third time, it was somewhat unrelated, but I have a small leak somewhere in the system, and if you ignore that for years, you run out of brake fluid. And, to be fair, I didn't ignore it. I just didn't realize that there was a slight leak in there, because up to a certain point, it had always had fluid when I checked.
Yeah.
So now I keep an eye on it, and it hasn't happened again. But there had been a few occasions that caused me genuine concern about going highway speeds in the car. My brakes are better now than they have ever been by probably a factor of 3.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
As to where I before never once had to be careful about locking up my brakes, now I have to be careful when it rains to not lock up my brakes. I'm actually going to take some adjustment out of it to make them a little softer, because when it is raining, I've locked them up a few times on accident. Which is largely due because I'm not used to the pedal actually like applying the brakes the way that it's supposed to. But nonetheless,
yeah.
And it was mostly just the booster that was the problem, or?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if it was adjusted incorrectly and I just happened to put the new one in right, or if maybe there was an issue with the diaphragm and the booster, so like maybe I was losing vacuum because it's a vacuum operated booster. I don't know if what modern ones are like, but yeah, for whatever reason, like when I was driving, at one point I put in the pedal and it's just incredibly stiff, and I hear like that hissing or like whooshing sound of a vacuum, like an audible vacuum leak, and I'm like, well, the booster went. Now I got a nice shiny one under the hood too. It looks great.
Hell yeah.
But I've just started actively doing research. I've talked to Alex about this. I think I've maybe even I'm buying a fucking Honda Fit.
Yes.
Yeah, good choice.
After so many, everyone I've talked to loves it. I've now found enthusiast like sections of the internet where people are like modding them, and I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. Honda Fits.
Oh, people love that shit.
People autocross them just stock.
I just learned that.
They're good track cars.
Yeah,
they're great.
I did not. I've driven them before, but it's been a long, long time, and I'm sold, man. I need something that gets way better gas mileage, starts every day. My partner has 2 kids, and even though they've been super cool about, like, hey, the only thing I ask of you is can you please put seatbelts in your cars? And I'm going to do that. That's not, like, a bridge too far for me. But, it would be something. It would be nice if I could be helpful in a genuine way, as opposed to like, oh, well, let me go get some cords so I can secure the kids in my van.
Some ratchet
Never
straps.
sounds good. That's a bad sentence.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound good in any context, really, but can definitely sound a lot worse. Yeah.
Welcome to Cars and Comrades.
I had already said that before I realized the extra meaning of it. And I don't...
We should clip that and just have a clip of Brandon saying that sentence out of context.
Somebody will.
My car update, I think the last time I was on here, I was saying I was motivated by you, Connor, to actually get my car listed on Bring a Trailer. And I think
I was wondering how this went.
It went. I mean, honestly, if I did bring a trailer again, the car sold for a little less than I expected. And so the way Bring a Trailer works is like you tell them like either you want no reserve, which you know gets people bidding a little bit more, but it's a lot of risk for you because then whatever it sells for, it sells for. So I came in with I wanted the reserve to be 18.5 on the car. And they're like, well, with the market, you know, blah, 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 we think you have a better chance if the reserve is like 16.
This was the Porsche Boxster?
Yeah, this was my nicer Boxster. The one that was too nice for me to continue to own. So I was like, all right, if that's what it's going to take to list it on the site, it seems like that's where you could get the most money for it. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Sure, 16, but I think it's going to go above that because similar cars were doing like 20 to 21.
Okay.
So, long story short, I wasn't thrilled with the pictures. Like, I paid for the full service, like, let you guys take the pictures, you know what you're doing, like, you're going to set them up nice, like, it's going to be a full Bring a Trailer listing, and like, they do present the cars really well. My issue was the photo editor that they use. I feel like they edited the photos a little too light and made the like blue color of the car look different than it actually presents in person in like a worse way.
Cool.
Yeah, really cool. The only good thing is like you can post pictures yourself once the auction goes live. So I made sure like as soon as it went live, I posted a bunch of pictures like, hey, you know, just showing the car in different kind of lighting, you know, like, and it almost looked completely different than the listing. But long story short, it like gets down to the last day of the auction, and it was up to like, I think 11, but the last few hours is when all of the bidding happened.
Yeah, that's what we figured. I was going to ask, like, what is that feeling like where it's like up for several days of just like,
Nothing happening.
Yeah. That's got. I know it's like part of how it works, but I feel like there's a feeling that comes with that, though, right?
Oh, there definitely is. Yeah, like, is anyone interested in the car? Did like the market drop out?
Yeah.
My best
All
friend
these
listed
thoughts
his,
just running through your head.
My best friend
Yeah.
listed his nearly mint '68 original RS Camaro on Bring a Trailer like years ago, and was losing his fucking mind every day. I was getting 6 texts like, "It's only at $12,000 right now, wow!" And yeah, I ended up selling for almost 30, like an hour before. It actually did the thing where like the auction extends if the bidding gets like feverish enough, and his went like a few hours late because at the last minute it shot up by like $6,000 or $8,000.
Yeah, so every time the auction's in its last minute, if someone makes a bid in that last minute, it extends it another 2 minutes just to account for like final bidding, because obviously they want the price to go higher.
Yeah.
Because the cool thing that I learned is the seller doesn't pay the fee that Bring a Trailer gets, so the buyer pays the 5% fee. The only thing the only thing you pay as the seller is the listing price, which is like it's $99 for basic, and that's where you have to take all the pictures and videos and whatnot. And it's close to $400 if you want them to take all the pictures and like set it up, which I said I will not do again. But the first few days of the auction, the only bids may have been people I knew bidding on the car to. It may have been, I don't know. But yeah, the last like hour or so, you know, I went home from work early that day just to like watch it. I'm like, I have a dentist appointment. I gotta go. So, yeah, there was like 2 people bidding back and forth, and one thing that made me really nervous is the highest bidder in like the last 2 hours lived like 15 minutes from me.
Oh no.
Which I did not want, because I don't want the car like showing up at my dealership. Like, not that I misrepresented it or like think it's a bad car. It's like I put it on Bring a Trailer because I wanted to go across the country. Like, I don't want to see it again.
Yeah.
Luckily, he didn't end up winning the auction, and at the last minute, some guy swooped in that hadn't asked me any questions, hadn't commented on it, hadn't bid on it at all before, and he won it for 16.5, so like just above the reserve. When pretty much everyone I know that like knows these cars, and my uncle actually like buys and sells them a lot because they're a decent market. He was convinced the car was going to do like between 20 and 22.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty disappointing.
It is. I mean, all the redeeming factors, like I had 8 into the car in total, so I doubled my money.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Can't be too
But
mad about that.
No, and I was like, you know what? It's gone. And the other good thing was the seller was the type of dude, like, I'm pretty sure he's going to, like, hold on to it and flip it maybe next year in, like, convertible season. But the dude didn't ask me a single question. Like, the auction was over. He emailed me, like, 10 minutes later. Hey, I'm the winner. What's your address? You'll have a cashier's check tomorrow. And the car was going to Georgia. So...
Okay.
I think the auction ended at like 2:30 on a Thursday, and by 11 a.m., cashier's check was in my mailbox.
Damn.
So,
Damn,
yeah,
alright.
dude did not mess around. He overnighted it, put the money in my bank. I had the money. He's like, all right, the truck will be there in a week or so. Truck showed up, gone. Like, he didn't ask me questions. He received the car. He's like, yep, looks great, thanks. Like, never heard from him again. So,
Cool.
that was the bright side. So, yeah. So it was an overall good experience. I just got considerably less money than I thought the car would go for, but I've also been told that, like, people are actually starting to not spend as much money on cars and the market's softening a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm
that's
seeing
fair.
cars and housing get a lot cheaper suddenly.
Yeah. So
It almost feels like the
put it
economy's
on-
not doing as well as I'm being told it's doing.
No, but the stock market's good, right?
It's
That's
the only
Especially
metric.
The defense contractors, they're doing great right now.
Yeah.
yeah, fantastic. So
Speaking of selling cars for less, I still have my Subaru up for sale. I do have someone hopefully coming to see it this evening, but yeah, I think I'm gonna have to sell it for closer to like 3,000 than 4,000, like I had hoped. But oh well.
yeah, I think the last time I was on here, you had to step out to go show it to someone. I guess they wasn't everything they wanted.
Yeah, I think the power steering pump was making a noise, and so they kind of got scared off by that. At least I'm pretty
It's
sure
probably
it's...
like what, a 2-hour job on that car.
Yeah, right, and these were like Subaru people that had like replaced motors in Subarus before, so I don't know what the deal
Might
was.
have just
the
been
hell?
an
It's-
excuse. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just don't want to buy the thing that you're like. Sometimes you just want to drive it home.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to buy the work.
right.
Yeah. That's totally fair, honestly. But, I mean, honestly, I don't want to jinx it, but I might be getting... I've got a second interview for a sales position, so I wouldn't have to drive my work truck all the time. And I've been thinking about getting, like, a beater car that I could drive in the winter easily. If you still have it up for sale and I get this job, I'll just buy your Saab from you.
Okay, yeah.
I need a beater. I need a beater
I
if I get this job.
I'm
So
I'm want to be insulted and say that it's nicer than a beater, but it's not really. So
I just need something that I can drive in the winter.
Yeah.
That is not gonna cause me heartache. Like
yeah, I
my
mean, if you let
two-wheel
it,
drive pickup truck that gets 14 miles to the gallon will.
Yeah, I think the term beater is very relative. I mean, my beater is
Yeah.
a 67, like, a GM A body. Like, nobody thinks of that as a beater, but I will do that. I beat on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got rid of one Boxster. I still have my track car one. I got some stuff done on that. I got the coilovers installed that were sitting in a box in my garage for 2 months. So got coilovers for that. I got the bucket seat installed. I got like a Momo racing wheel, and I got somehow managed to score a color matched hardtop for the car. Because it is the convertible, yeah. So
Nice.
it looks so much better, and it's just so much more rigid. And I got the top for $2,000, and the market on them in this shape is usually like $4,500. So I feel like I stole it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Did
Yeah.
you just see it come up on Facebook Marketplace or?
No, it was actually the dude who sold me the car. He has like 4 of these cars, and he,
Okay.
you know, he was going to turn one into a track car and then another one, this and that. And when I actually looked at this car, it had the hardtop on it. And I was trying to negotiate it with the sale back in the day. And he's like, you know, my son is going to drive this other Boxster through the summer, and he wants to have the hardtop. So maybe after the summer, I'll call you and we could work out a deal. So he actually stood by that and gave me a sick deal on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man.
Other than that, that's pretty much it.
So are you
Project
down to a
Hardcore.
few enough cars that where you're living is not hassling you?
So I did get rid of, I got to the point where I only have cars in our assigned spots and in my garages. So I had no extra cars until I bought another one.
Of course.
And but they don't know what that one is. So I'm trying to stay like, it's not an old ass junky Volkswagen like all my other ones. It's a newer-ish junky Volkswagen. So, yeah,
Perfect.
if I'm good about it and keep it hidden in the right spots, I don't think I'll get in too much trouble with it. And I only bought it just because a friend was selling it cheap, and he was trading it in to a dealer, and they were going to give him $2,500, and the car is probably worth like closer to $5,000. So he gave it to me for $2,500. So I'll beat it around for a little bit, and then I'll just sell it for a little bit of profit.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
Other than that, that's pretty much all I've been up to car-wise.
I'm finally at the point where I find something that I want and can afford, and I'm like, oh fuck, I don't have anywhere to put more cars.
Yeah.
It's like a good and bad problem. It's self-limiting in a good way.
There's nothing
getting
else I
into too much
actually need
trouble.
right now, so I think it's a good thing.
It's good, yeah.
I could actually still stand to get rid of 2 or 3.
Eh.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah. Oh, did you want me to go over the lemon stuff?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, real quick. I just made like a quick comprehensive list of people that want to do lemons. Number 1, don't. No, but seriously, me and my buddy found out the hard way. Like, if you're gonna jump into lemons, what I would highly, highly suggest, Brian, you've done some lemon stuff, no?
Yeah, I've raced on a couple teams basically that my friends were putting together, so I just kind of joined on to them basically.
So you did it the right way, I would say.
I did help a little bit with working on the cars and buying parts for them and stuff, but I wasn't. It wasn't totally in a arrive and drive, but I wasn't like in it from day one necessarily.
Yeah. So it's really hard because anything you get involved in with, like, let's say a couple of friends, it's almost like if you have a couple of really good friends and you think you want to live with them or like rent a house.
Yeah,
or...
don't do that. Don't do that.
That's what lemons is like, but just like building a car. So like, if it was just me and my one buddy, and I've known him since high school, and as far as like relationship wise and friendship wise, like, it wasn't damning in any way, but I got really lucky because he's just someone who was financially stable and trustworthy. But we both went into it naive, like, all right, we're just going to build a car and, it should cost, maybe this much. And, we got the car for free, but it was a shell and it had a roll cage in it. So we're like, okay, we're pretty much ready to go. Found out the roll cage wouldn't have passed Lemon's tech inspection, at all. So it ended up being worse that it had a cage, because now you have to cut a cage out and put another one in it.
Yeah. Now you've
I'm
doubled
actually
your
planning on
work.
teaching Zach about that next year.
Yeah, so that was a hindrance. So yeah, I'd say if you're gonna just get into it with a friend and you're dead set on getting a car and not starting the way, we're doing what Bryant did, where you just show up. You could go on the Lemons forums. They're always looking for drivers, and plenty of teams have no problem like taking on a rookie driver with little to no experience. Like, a lot of guys are just out there to have fun, my team's included. Like, we don't care if we win, we just want to be able to drive the car at least most of the weekend and just like have a good time. So that being said, if you're dead set on building a car, I would also scroll the Lemons for sale forums, because you could buy cars that have already been in Lemons racing. They already passed Lemons safety tech inspection. So the most you'll have to do is like fix somebody's, sketchy hack job wiring or whatever. But that's still going to be easier than building a car from scratch. Because my buddy who built the car with me is one of those dumb people that keeps receipts for everything and counted the numbers at the end.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Oh,
Pro tip,
God.
don't do that.
Pro tip, don't do that.
I did that once.
We raced this car over 2.5 years, and it only made it to 2 races. I mean, we only planned to do these races, but it's like just the work in between the first and the second one.
So start off, what was the per race cost of the car?
He didn't break it down that way, but per race, you're talking like $1,400 just for the race admission.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just to get in.
I didn't know
You also
that.
need everyone has to have a helmet and fire suit, and NASCAR license, and there's also like the fire suppression system and all that.
So
I gotta admit, hold on, I didn't know the admission cost that much. Like, how do you like
it's up
have
there.
a race team to? Oh, that's crazy. Okay, I didn't know that.
That's one of those things.
Is
where
that
it's like,
per person or per team? Sorry.
no, per team.
Per team? Okay, so I mean, if you've got... How many drivers is like a solid team for Lemons? We're talking like 5?
So it's one of those things that's hard, because the more people involved, obviously, the more complicated it gets. We were just a 2-person team for 2 races, which made everything obviously more expensive, but it also made things less complicated because we knew what we expected of one another and like knew each other long enough. We actually had 4 people at the start, and they dropped out when they realized like, oh, we're gonna have to like work on the car on our days off, because we're all mechanics and like you don't always want to do it on the weekend.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Sucked for them, because we were like probably $3,000 into the car at that time, and we're like, yeah, you're not getting your money back, so if you're out, you're out.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Yeah, everything gets cheaper the more drivers or just, the team you have, but everything gets more complicated. But
Okay.
yeah, at the end of, I think the first race we did for the car was 2019 at Road Atlanta in Sebring. We got to do the practice day, and then 36 laps into the first day of the race, the head gasket blew.
Oh, no.
Fun.
And that
Now,
was
we're not
after
mechanics. Is that important?
Probably better.
What kind of car is this?
So our first car we built was a 1983 Volkswagen Rabbit, and we swapped in a 12-valve VR6 from a 98 Jetta GLX.
Yeah.
The thing was, the car we swapped it in from had 212,000 miles.
Oh, my God.
It ran really well.
Until it
and
didn't.
yeah. Both of us, you get to a point where you're like, all right, I want to do this and make sure this is good, but you have to like walk that line of like, okay, but are we going to like tear down the engine and rebuild it? Like the kind of cost versus payoff analysis. But one thing we definitely should have considered doing was a head gasket, but we were like, there was so much other shit to do. We're like, it'll probably be fine. And yeah, that's how that went. But yeah, so we towed the car. It was about 9 hours to Atlanta, Road Atlanta from South Florida. The race was in December, so it was like 46 degrees and raining.
Oh my god.
And we're just like trying to fix the car under, a pop-up tent that we brought. The first thing that happened was the coolant bottle started leaking. And I had another buddy who showed up just like as an arrive and drive from New York. So he flew into Atlanta and he got a rental car or whatever. I ended up getting a Volkswagen Jetta from Enterprise that we ended up actually stealing the coolant reservoir from for the race. We didn't need it for that long because after that the head gasket blew up. But so that race was just like an epic failure and just a learning experience. And then we didn't get back on track until May 2021. We went to Sebring, which was nice because that's only 2 hours from us. And this time we went back with a fully built, same motor, VR6. Did a proper head gasket with head studs. We didn't do any crazy upgrades or anything. We just built a stock motor as best as we could.
Yeah, that's a good stock motor. So
yeah. All we did was throw on an oil cooler just because we knew in May in Florida, like the track was 93 degrees for Saturday and Sunday.
Oh yeah.
And that was like our redemption race. That car, we had 0 issues. The car did, I think, 830 miles on track that weekend.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
with
awesome.
0 issues. We didn't place high or anything. Like the car handled like shit because, it's a Rabbit, so it should be super nimble, but you put all this weight in the front with the V6, like it pulled in the straights, but handled like a shopping cart full of bricks.
Yeah.
I would say.
I used to work at Home Depot, and I have pushed a shopping cart full of bricks, and it does understeer.
That is literally. It had a really good diff, so it could like kind of pull you through a turn, but like even people would come to like in the paddock later at the end of like the first day, they're like, I can't believe how fast that thing is in the straights, but holy crap, like it looks like a dump truck in the turns. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it feels. So
I mean, so isn't the VR6 like it is a V6, but isn't it like a lightweight V6 because of the fact that it's like almost like a single bank V6, weirdly?
I mean, it's compact, but it is an iron block, isn't it?
It is an iron block. The less of the problem is the weight, more of the problem is that it hangs like pretty much in front of the front axle. And it being a race car, it had nothing in the back of it. Like we were 3-wheeling.
Yeah.
Like if I could go do that again, I probably would have put sandbags in the back, in the rear hatch area.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty much the end for that car because we're like, all right, this consumed our lives completely. We did what we wanted to do, like a successful race with the car. We were both moving. And that's when he did the math, and he's like, yeah, just the car itself, forget the race, forget the safety gear. We were $16,000 into that car.
Holy shit.
Holy shit.
God.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they gave you penalty laps for that? Like, they had to know that, like, this car is not a cheap car. No, they didn't know?
No, they didn't. They knew it was like, they popped the hood and they're like, that's a big motor for this little car. And we're like, yeah, but it's going to handle like shit. And it's a Volkswagen. Like, bringing a German car to an endurance race, like, I feel like you should get points for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
The only punishment they gave us was they put us in Class A. So you're going up against E46 BMWs. Our class winner was a 350Z, which should not have been in lemons.
Yeah.
I've seen some 350Zs that could probably be in lemons.
At least, yeah.
On the street, so just saying.
Well,
they can be pretty clapped out.
It was clapped out, but they didn't give him... He He was in a 350Z that was clapped out, but like on 200 treadwear tires, and they didn't give him any penalty laps.
Ooh,
Oh
they
my
should have
God.
gotten penalty laps.
They
'cause,
should have gotten a lot of penalty laps.
Like, yeah, a fucked up body doesn't mean that, like, it's not a great motor and a great car with good tires. Like,
yeah,
it's made to go around tracks like that.
yeah, no, and they literally admitted, the guy who gives out the awards at the end, he's like, I don't know what my judges were doing, but yeah, the overall winner is this guy. And the thing at a Lemons race is whenever I announce the overall winner, everybody boos because nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So yeah, that was the end of that car. We sold it. It stayed local. The guy who bought it actually ended up doing like a pretty cool vintage like Euros race in Miami. It was like European cars of the 80s and 90s. So he did actually continue to race it a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, I was happy to see that. And then after that, we didn't have a car. We were just looking for the right time to buy into a race just to show up. So the last one we did was this past May. Lemons finally came back to Sebring. And we bought in, not just to show up and drive, but we spent a few days working on, I believe it was an '08 Dodge Charger. So,
Okay.
yeah, with a Hemi. So it was a completely different car. It was a friend of a friend's car, kind of on loan, where my buddy who lives in Central Florida wanted to race. So his buddy in Pennsylvania was like, hey, you could use my Charger. You could take it pretty much just for the cost of like getting it track worthy again, so I could fly down to Sebring and like drive it with you. So
Oh wow.
we didn't have to do too much. We did front rear brakes. We went over, we did brake fluid. Didn't need a radiator, drive shaft. But pretty much a day and a half worth of work. We showed up at Sebring. My buddy was backing it off the trailer, and when he put it in reverse, the trans cooler line just blew off and dumped all of the trans fluid. Like, this is literally just unloading it, showing up to the race.
Yeah.
God.
I was still driving up there, so by the time I got there, that was fixed. Supposedly this car, the engine had been rebuilt like the year prior by some shop in Pennsylvania. Supposedly they went all through the car. So
However,
we were under the impression this was... The car was falling apart, like, rust-wise, but not really structurally. It was just... It was just a northern car. The cool thing about it, and the very Lemons thing about it, was it's actually titled as a stolen police car.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it was like a highway patrol car. That's how it started its life. So my buddy painted it in the Florida theme of... he kind of made it look like a cop car again. But he made it say, like, Senior Citizen Bingo Patrol or something. So, yeah, the car was pretty good all weekend, besides the fact that it was absolutely blowing oil out of the tailpipe. We never...
not great.
Yeah, we haven't gotten it diagnosed because it ended up going back to PA with the owner. I think he plans to get it fixed and maybe get it back out on track. But... yeah, they actually put it in the Lemons recap video. They gave us a trophy that they never made before. We won Ultimate Florida Man for that race.
Nice.
That's
we-
awesome.
Yeah, we went the full theme. We had I don't know if any of you are familiar with hurricanes too much, but during a hurricane, you can actually use your washing machine as a cooler.
Okay.
'cause
Oh,
it's-
to like put beers in?
yeah,
you
it's
mean?
pretty well insulated, obviously. So my buddy,
That's not obvious to me at all.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were that well insulated. So
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that's news to me, man.
no, they're
Yeah,
pretty
I had no
insulated.
idea.
Yeah. If you,
Wait,
if
so
you-
hold on. If you like fill it with ice and you just use it as a cooler for all your shit in the fridge that doesn't, that's not working.
Yeah,
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
good to know.
it is good to know.
Is the
They-
washing machine more well insulated than the refrigerator?
No, it's just really good for filling up with ice and like beer and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But you can't really dump. It's harder to dump like buckets of ice It's better if it's a top-load washer machine, obviously, which is what we
Oh,
had.
I understand the premise now. Yes.
Yeah. So I wish I was there when he pulled up, because he pulled up with the trailer and the charger and a washing machine was ratcheted strapped to each other. So we had the washing machine in the paddock with us, filled with water, beer, and energy drinks the whole weekend. So anybody that walked by, we'd offer them a drink, and they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, it's in the washing machine." And actually, when we had to leave, we found, because my buddy found it in the trash, obviously. We found out the pump system still worked because we plugged it in and it started just draining all of the water that was in the washing machine in the paddock. So yeah, we won Most Florida Man. We consumed, what we figured out was we had to stop every 20 to 25 minutes to top up the oil, depending on who was driving. Because some people were like harder on the car, some people not as much. But yeah, we kept track, and from Friday's test day until checkered flag on Sunday, we consumed 71 quarts of oil.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Incredible.
They called us off the track on, I think the first day, green flag, we go out for a few laps and the thing's just like blowing smoke. So they call us in and they're like, "What's going on? Don't think your car is doing so hot." My buddy's like, "Oh, we just put new injectors in the car, and it's not used to it yet, so we're burning a little bit of fuel, but it should get better over the weekend." Yeah, it didn't. But we actually probably would have been relatively successful in that race, because even with having to stop every 20 or 25 minutes, and we had 5 drivers, so we were doing a lot of driver changes, which was good because it was probably 105 to 110 degrees inside that car.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We did have the cool suit, which is absolute necessity.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ended up they put us in C class, which made no sense to me. I'm like, okay, so it's definitely about who you know, because my buddy's like pretty friendly with the judges. Because he got C class with like a Hemi Charger, and I got A class with a VR6 Volkswagen.
Yeah.
That didn't make much sense to me. But I learned later it was because this car has a history of being, doing special things at Lemons races. Like the last time it was on track, it caught fire twice.
Relatable.
Which no one told me until after this race, which was probably a good thing. But yeah, they put us in C class, and we ended up finishing 3rd in our class, even with the issues. Besides the oil consumption, it really didn't. It was a fun car. It handled a lot better than I expected it to, for having like Bilstein shocks in the front and then stock everything in the rear. Is very happy to oversteer, but in like a controllable way, and it was fairly quick.
Nice.
But yeah, that's how I would start Lemons racing if I started over again. I would find friends or friends of friends that already had a car. I would show up. Or if you're absolutely committed to building a car with friends, I would make sure everybody's financially on board from the jump, to the tune of like, we are having either a separate account or shoebox, where like, if you're going to build a car from scratch, everyone better be willing to pitch in to have like, I would say $10,000 just to build a car. And have the funds.
I think it depends on the car and like if you actually want to win. Because I've heard people say more like 5,000, but that was maybe a couple of years ago when things were cheaper.
I'm just accounting for like all the safety equipment, assuming a car is not 100% stock.
Yeah.
And it also depends, can anyone on your team weld? Can you fabricate a roll cage? Are you going to be paying someone to do that?
Wow, would I be an asset?
You definitely.
Yeah.
you're burning $1,300 to $1,400 just getting into the race, so that's gone quick. You're hopefully filling, 8 to 10 VP jugs to bring fuel to the track, because fuel at the track is like $7 a gallon.
Ooh.
That's why I think it's good to just have that fund for all the things that you don't think about that are going to cost a lot of money. Getting the car to the track. If someone has a truck that could tow the car to the track, if it's not that local. If you're driving to a race that isn't very local, like that could pay for like the hotel or the Airbnb. Like it's not just all the car stuff, because I don't even want to know what we spend on that stuff otherwise. I was nauseous enough just knowing what we spent on the car itself. As two people that did most of the work, the only thing we didn't do was the cage. But yeah, if I was to do it again, I would show up. I would try to show up and like watch a race and just like see everything going on if you have one local to you.
Yeah.
And then the next best thing is like show up and drive, or show up and if you have even a little mechanical ability, like offer to help with the car and get an idea of what it is before you dive into like building a car with a couple of friends. Because we all know how fun it is to work on a car.
And I'll say, I don't know if all the races are like this, but the one in Colorado on Saturday night, when the track goes cold, it's like a big party.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes there's like, kind of a potluck. Like there's a guy that brings a portable wood-fired pizza oven and is like turning out pizzas and handing them out for people.
That's awesome.
Or people are like, bringing Jello shots or whatever, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I can attest to that. I went one time with Bryant, and it was just a huge party. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
No, the Lemons community is awesome, and you just start talking to people, and it's just like, oh yeah, no, my buddy, you want to drive? Yeah, this guy, hey, he's looking for a car to drive, and some guys just need a relief driver, and you could get in the car for like relatively cheap,
Yeah.
or even nothing if you're just like willing to offer like, hey, I'll be the guy that's switching the wheels out when we're going to a different set, or just like working on the car.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the last time I raced, 2 years ago, my friend Mo, his Civic, like threw a rod, I think about halfway through the weekend. And so the guy that owns the car I was racing with, Rafi, was like, hey, you guys want to take a stint in this car? So, the guys that hadn't been able to drive the Civic because it, exploded, they're like, yeah, definitely. Okay, I'll take a stint in the MR2.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of camaraderie, all kinds of good stuff. It's the people that are like, steely-eyed professional racers, they kind of get shunned out of the Lemons thing.
Yeah, I think they do it once and feel not welcome, which is great. And yeah, they usually end up in champ car racing, I feel like.
Right. Yeah. Which, I mean, if you're a competitive steely-eyed racer, then yeah, just go and do that.
Yeah, it's all about what you want to do. Like, I just want to have fun. I consider a successful weekend like I got to drive the car and have a good time. If we finished, even better. If you happen to place, even better and get a trophy. But I'm just there hoping I can drive and have a good time and not expect much else other than that.
Next time you got to get oil company to sponsor you.
Oh yeah, we had written on the intake manifold of the Hemi. It was Exxon Valdez in spirit.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
All right, we're back from our break, and we're talking about a few news stories before we wrap up here. I know Brandon and Alex both have to duck out a little bit early today. So first up, we've got a story from the Autopian.com, And the headline is Cyberbullying. Tesla Cybertruck owners are sick of getting the middle finger. So, I don't know if this is proof that bullying works and is a good thing, but that's kind of what I'm taking it as.
We should definitely shun people in society who who have unwanted behavior, like buying Cybertrucks.
Yeah, there have to be repercussions for your actions.
Yeah.
So the author talked to this guy named Marcus, who owns a Tesla Cybertruck. He calls himself an early adopter of Tesla vehicles. And he says, I've experienced firsthand what it's like to own an EV in a southern car-loving town, and it has certainly been interesting. Politics and election seasons play a significant role in people's perceptions. Many instantly assume that you vote a certain way because you drive a Tesla. I've encountered plenty of false information, blatant lies, and fear-driven propaganda, like claims that the truck will catch fire in a car wash. I mean, that's a valid concern.
Yeah, it might.
There was that, what was it, a Model Y that caught fire in someone's garage with the flood waters coming in.
Yeah, Teslas are prone to fires, so...
Yeah.
Actually, kind of, to some extent, kind of all EVs are. That seems like a thing that needs to be worked out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the car I've got now was recalled and had the battery replaced because they caught fire, so...
Yep.
And I'm confused. Are cars not supposed to catch on fire? It's been my personal
Most people
experience
don't like that.
that's pretty normal.
Yeah. It does happen more often than you think. They are full of flammable stuff. So this guy goes on. I've received late night hate messages and threats, been flipped off, coal rolled, and had people deliberately slow down in front of me. Which I think, Brandon, you talked about this. Teslas will the auto driving thing will slow down if someone cuts them off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I abuse that too much, but I'm not going to say I've never done it.
So this guy goes on. He says, but I'm not a pushover, and I confront this behavior directly. I know a lot of people in my town, and it's easy to trace their comments back to some of the points I mentioned earlier. I'm vocal and quick to counter with facts and logic, which helps shut down.
Oh, the ever-present facts and logic with these people.
Do your own research on the Cybertruck. Did you guys see Whistling
incredibly
Diesel?
innovative guys.
Now, I want to confirm to everyone that Cybertruck owners are frequently subject to bullying. I know, as someone who personally bullies them.
Yeah, I think let's hear about Brandon's brand of bullying the Cybertruck owners.
Okay, and you guys have seen me do this because I was literally doing it in Colorado while we were in the mountains, but I just give them a simple thumbs down.
Nothing better.
Yeah.
Effective.
I feel like flipping them off has they don't feel worth that level of energy. A simple thumbs down will do. You suck.
Yeah, the thumbs down is more like a I'm disappointed, not mad kind of thing. Like it's not like I'm not triggered. I think you're shitty. It definitely, I think it cuts a little deeper.
Mm-hmm.
That's my approach. I hear they get flipped off a lot, but I've heard of other people giving them a thumbs down as well. So I chose to adopt that. My partner and I were in a city outside of Harper's Ferry 2 weeks ago that we got an Airbnb there, and we're doing Harper's Ferry stuff for the weekend. And on our way out, I see a Cybertruck. And so I give the dude a thumbs down. And my partner's like, what are you doing? They're very left as well, but I'm just like, oh, anytime I see a Cybertruck, I give them a thumbs down because they suck and they deserve to know it. And as we go through the turn and see the driver, he's wearing a beanie. We go maybe a few 10, 20 feet, and my partner says, that guy looked like Tim Pool. And I'm like, I don't really know what Tim Pool looks like that well.
You already described him, the guy with the beanie.
He had a beard and a beanie.
That's a perfect description.
Yeah, I mean, it's warm out, and the guy's wearing a beanie, but I'm like, yeah. people can look that way. He just looks like a dumb idiot. Like, whatever. And I'm like, I don't think he looked that much like him. He just had a beard and a beanie. So, and yeah, he's gonna look like Tim Pool. And so my partner pulls up a picture of Tim Pool, and I'm like, oh, he looked just like Tim Pool. Like, I'm like, oh, this dude is identical. Okay, weird. And then they say something like, I think he actually lives in this area. And I'm like, I thought he lived down south. And I'm like, no, he lives in like West Virginia. We are in the South. So they look him up and find out that he lives about 20 minutes from where we're at that moment, and gets on his Twitter, and it has been less than 2 weeks since he tweeted about having accepted delivery of his brand new Cybertruck.
Yes.
So I am from that able to deduce that I was able to personally give Tim Pool a thumbs down for driving a Cybertruck.
Nice.
Because I can't imagine that there was another person that looks just like Tim Pool that lives in that area and drives a Cybertruck.
No, that's the thing. Only like 3,000 of them have been sold. So if you see one, that's the one in that area. Like, there's not
Not
gonna
by
be
me.
another one.
I have so many by me, and
Oh, really?
it's funny. I'm now seeing it just demonstrates how bad the stainless steel
So
idea
many
was.
people are wrapping them.
They're all wrapped.
Yeah.
Every single one. I haven't seen a non-wrapped one in weeks, and I just see different. One of them, I was like, it was like a flat white, and I was like, dude, this looks like an old refrigerator. Like, it's not good. But yeah, so I do have a bunch by me. But they're not all driven by Tim Pool
For what it's worth, Tim Pool's is not wrapped.
yet.
I think a lot of them honestly do it because they don't want to admit they should get rid of it yet, but the majority of the ones I've seen have been wrapped like a regular dark color, like dark blue or black. Like they're trying to fly under the radar now, which is impossible to do.
Well, they don't want it to rust.
I'm not going to give them credit for looking good under any circumstances, but I will say, having seen several of them wrapped, raw stainless is the worst looking option.
Yeah.
No, it is. When you see a black one, it's you're like, that isn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it still looks like a doorstop.
It made me realize that in raw stainless, it looks unfinished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like literally and figuratively. Like it looks like a prototype or something.
I mean, I feel like the only other stainless steel car I know of is the DeLorean, and they, I think, at least took some pains to make sure all the body panels lined up correctly and weren't like, wavy and wrinkled and shit.
And those actually looked good. Like, the DeLorean was a good-looking car, so they could pull it off.
Yeah.
The Cybertruck just isn't.
Yeah, I mean, that too. Like, they were starting with a good design, actually.
I really like that they have to buy tires like every 6,000 miles or something like that.
But no oil changes, at least.
Yeah.
They replace them tires like twice a year, basically. Potentially more.
Yeah, I will give credit where credit's due. I see them all over the place, like probably 2 to 3 a day. It's terrible.
Oh my god.
But I haven't seen anyone driving one like an asshole.
I think they're too ashamed.
They're just trying to not draw attention to themselves, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I'm surprised. Like, I'm expecting them to see, like, them using the launch, thing at every stoplight.
I have seen, on the highway. I saw someone, like, driving through traffic, weaving in and out of cars. I'm like, dude, that is a... Oof. I was like, I'm going to back off. I'm going to get away from this.
Were those things weigh like 7,000 pounds?
Yeah.
I mean, at least when a motorcyclist is doing that, they're only going to kill themselves.
Yeah. No, it's a death trap for everyone else.
I actually watched one of those circle drags that they have at certain like speedways,
Yeah.
And it was a Tesla Cybertruck versus a C4 Corvette.
I remember that.
Oh, I think I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah, so a notoriously not very fast version of the Corvette. And the C4 won, man. It totally whooped them.
Hell yeah. Because it can turn.
Yeah.
And the power to weight ratio is probably about the same for both of them.
Yeah, similar. Well, you're probably the only leftist podcast that got to give Tim Pool a thumbs down in person.
I really think that is especially cool. Especially, like, I hope Tim Pool saw you Like,
Sadly, I
really
don't think he did, but I can't be sure. I still take pride in what I'm still doing.
Yeah,
Marxist
I think you
work.
still deserve the podcast version of the Order of Lenin for that.
I've never gone into the group chat rowdier than on that day.
Yeah, we could tell you were feeling yourself there.
Dude, Nick
for
leaves the group chat like once a week because he hates the internet now, and I had to like personally text him and be like, "Get in the fucking group chat right now."
Are you talking intervention, Nick?
Yeah, he lives across town from me. We hang out, and like he's my bud. So that day in particular, I needed him to share the joy with the entire group chat. Actually, he helped me tear my group up.
I can't imagine why you would hate the internet. It's such a
I know,
it's the
right?
bringer of joy
Such a fun place to be all the time, every day.
when you curate your own personal hell.
I saw someone saying something like, "I can't decide whether I want to, live in the real world, which is full of assholes, or online, which is full of assholes, or inside my own head, which fucking sucks."
Pick one.
Mine's full of assholes. So,
yeah, mine's full of assholes. So.
More than one?
On some days, buddy, if I forget to take the meds.
Well, anyway, I think that's probably all we had on that story. So, Brandon, if you're not feeling super great, so if you wanted to
Yeah, I also have to
Jump
figure out
off.
why my phone's not charging now.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on about people telling Cybertruck owners to go kill themselves, but, you get the gist.
I think they get
get
it,
the
though.
gist,
I feel like the
Yeah.
vibe is they know that.
I learned the valuable lesson that I am going to continue with my shitty behavior.
Yeah, you should. Again, you're being rewarded for it here.
Yeah.
Everyone
100%.
listening, I think, is cheering for you. Unless Tim Pool's listening, in which case, probably not. But
In which case, holy shit, Tim Pool
fuck
listens
yeah.
to our podcast. It did occur to me that there's like the slightest chance that somebody's going to listen to this and send it to him, and then I'll proudly
that would
like
be great.
If Tim Pool is posting about Cars and Comrades in like a week, that's going to be really funny.
These fucking dirtbags that can't fix a car for shit we're talking about me.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like, them trying to make fun of us would make us sound so much cooler than we are. There's
Yeah.
no chance it wouldn't.
The amount that we make fun of ourselves, like I don't know how you exceed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the premise of the show.
Like these guys can't even keep a
Yeah,
car
literally.
running. Like, dude, that's what our show's about.
Wow, you must have listened to the entire show. That's crazy.
It's
Maybe
astounding
you could
when
sell
like
him.
one of us shows up and we fixed something.
Yeah, it's always a small victory.
Yeah.
Tim Pool is going to end up buying the Subaru.
Oh my god.
Don't do it.
That Russia money's got to go somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah. That
Zing.
poor guy, he got duped. I'm sure he had no idea what was going on.
I think that technically this counts as Russia funneling money to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I bet
indirect
the Democrats are going to run with that. Mm-hmm. We're going to hear about it. That's why Kamala lost. The Russians funneled money to Tesla, to Elon Musk through Tesla through Tim Pool.
And then Brandon
that
gave
makes
him a
perfect
thumbs
sense.
down.
Yeah. This is the most anti-Russia I've ever been.
Especially in the last few years.
Sometimes you just see two awful people fighting and you stay away.
Yeah. Alright, guys, I've got a heart out.
I would
All right.
It's good to be back.
Yep.
Good talking to you,
having
man.
you on, man.
Yeah.
Good luck with your menagerie of cars.
Yes, to you guys as well. Did you get Zach? Real quick, did you get an STI block for your car?
No, I ended up getting a WRX block. It was way cheaper.
Okay.
I was thinking about. I literally sold an STI block the week that my car blew up, so that was fun.
That's why you never sell anything.
I know, right? I know. But, yeah. I just went with the WRX block for now. I figured I have this block still, so while I'm running the block I got off Facebook Marketplace, I'll go through and build this one, and then whenever that one pops, I'll have a built block ready to go.
All right, well, cool. Hopefully the next time I listen to the next episode after this, you'll be on saying how it's in the car, running, making 600 to the wheel.
I wish. I'm only shooting for like 400. Class restrictions.
Only
It doesn't
400.
make sense. Only 400.
Only
Yeah, no.
400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Class restrictions mean that anything more is just pushing my power up in the top end of the power band. That's just not great for racing. So.
Are you hoping to do Pikes Peak with it one day?
Yeah, that's really the long-term goal. Like
Okay.
that would be awesome to do eventually. I'm gonna do some hill climbs with it as well. So I would love to do Pikes Peak someday.
We've been wanting to go out there, so if you manage to get that car and you're gonna do Pikes Peak, we're gonna have to make a trip to come see that.
Oh, please, dude. That would make my entire life.
Yeah.
If you came all the way out from Florida to see me do Pikes Peak, that would be awesome.
Do another comrades trip.
Yes.
We're
for sure.
we're definitely gonna make that happen. It was a blast.
Oh yeah.
That'd be cool. We could be your support team. We might not
Oh,
be
man.
sober or fixing anything, but we'll be there.
Hey, I wouldn't expect anything else. So
yeah.
that sounds
Yeah.
perfect.
If I can get someone to pick me up out of bed and carry me there while I'm still asleep.
I don't know if
That'd
we've
be
done
fantastic.
some sort of ending the show thing, but I'm gonna hop off because
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel terrible and just realized I have to run to the store. So I will talk to you later. Had
All
fun.
right, man.
Yep.
Adios.
All right.
Later,
Fuck,
Brandon.
night.
fuck Tim Pool.
Feel better, buddy.
Guys, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for having me again.
Yep. Bye, Alex.
All right,
Of
thanks.
course, man.
Thanks
All right, guys.
thanks for
Been
coming
great.
on.
Good night.
Right.
Bye.
All right, what do you think? Do we want to end it, or do we want to run through like 2 or 3 stories real quick? Give the listeners.
If you
what
guys
they
got
want.
some stories you want to talk about, I'm good with that. Yeah, we could do 1 or 2 more.
All right, I can
Something like
I can
that,
talk
2,
about
3.
a couple here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, I think one of the stories. So the last story we read came from Autoblog, and so I feel like next story seems pretty fitting to
Autopian.
me. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna read this one here. So regarding Autoblog, it's worth noting. It sounds like they were just the latest victim of another private equity buyout.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, for anyone familiar or not familiar, capitalism has made everything shitty, including the car enthusiast world. So, greedy corporations that don't actually specialize in any industry. Their industry is like owning shit, and they're like landlords for business. What they do, they just buy up companies that they're like, yeah, this seems successful. We'll just buy them up, cut costs, get rid of staff, increase the profits, suck all that money out, and then sell the company for for pennies on the dollar or whatever. After they've loaded the company up with debt, that like they borrow money through the company and just saddle it with a bunch of debt, which they then get the benefit of all the profits, and then they just sell the company. It's a shitty practice. It's capitalism. It's exactly what you would expect. But it turns out they've been buying up car YouTube channels, TV channels, YouTubers. Hoonigan was bought. Sounds like certain parts manufacturers and a lot of the automotive journalist media outlets.
Do you know if this is who bought Donut Media? Or,
I don't know if
because I
it's-
know they were purchased as well.
This article, I'm not even sure if it even actually officially mentions who it was bought by. Let me go through it. It's kind of like an article written by the staff who are essentially leaving. So,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, the article is titled, "We obsessively covered the auto industry for 20 years." And so it was just a bunch of staff this is like their leaving announcement. It's cliche to say that it's the road, not the destination, or something like that. But it holds true as Autoblog enters its next chapter. In this case, we leave the site in new hands as Autoblog will continue under new ownership, i.e. they've been bought by a private equity firm. But the legacy is our 20-year journey to obsessively cover the auto industry. The staff has evolved over time, and there are too many amazing writers to name who contributed to Autoblog's success and longevity. The site launched on June 1st, 2004, and proceeded to chronicle the most tumultuous 2+ decades the industry has seen in the past 100 years. In our 20th anniversary post, we mentioned some of the raw figures. Now nearly 159,000 posts, 43,000 photo galleries, and 848 podcasts. We've created at least 5,000 videos, including shows like The List that appeared on television. We've recognized more than 10 Technology of the Year winners, track-tested exotic sports cars, and off-roaded to all corners of the earth, from Patagonia to Iceland, Willow Springs to the Nürburgring, and everywhere in between. Our columns, buying guides, reviews, videos, and car buying resources built one of the most influential sites in the car world. But our news scroll, the blog, made Autoblog a must-read for enthusiasts of all stripes. From the tuner adding a wing or new exhaust to their aging Civic or Charger, to suits on the highest floors of the Renaissance Center and Glass House getting their daily dose of car news, Autoblog has stood the test of time as a resource for everyone. Perhaps the best way to sign off is simply to thank you, the reader, for 20 great years. May the road rise. So, kind of cryptic. I didn't look too far into it. It doesn't mention who they were bought by, but clearly we've seen this trend quite a bit lately. So, yeah, new unnamed management usually does mean typical private equity, and this is people saying goodbye because, you know, capitalism fucked it up.
Yeah, as it's doing to a lot in the auto industry right now. I don't know if there's one entity that's kind of going around and buying up all of these different media outlets, or if it's just kind of a trend that's happening within the auto industry. But like you said, Hoonigan got bought.
Yeah.
Obviously, Autoblog, Donut Media got bought. And you see all the core staff, the people who were in it from the beginning, are leaving and going on to other things. It's really sad to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've touched on this before. It is a trend. Actually, if you're looking for more info, there's a bunch of videos online of the people who leave these media outlets making videos explaining why. And as you can imagine, they're blaming the new management. They're blaming the private equity and the fact that these companies that were once so cool became soulless and all about the profit. They took away their creativity. And one of the themes you can get from all these videos is the working people realizing that they don't have a stake in these companies. They don't own the means of production, and they're all like, oh, I thought I was part of this like actual family until I realized that, oh no, someone else fucking owns it and they make the decisions and I don't get a say. I'm not, invested in this. We built this and we get nothing from the fucking sale of it. We get no reward. So of course it's very much, all the stuff we say, naturally. I would want to plug, and we should probably put in the show notes, a link to the video that JT of Second Thought made.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, he put together a pretty good video, looking at a lot of these articles and videos, saying the same things we are, but of course, as an actual socialist, his analysis is much more like ours. He went in depth into this is capitalism and all that. So we'll link that in the show notes for sure. But another one bites the dust.
Wow. Yeah, it's a very disturbing trend that is all too popular within the automotive media currently.
Yeah, and all of capitalism as well.
And all of capitalism, but yeah, based on what we talk about.
I mean, fun fact. I'm not gonna say the company I work for on the internet on my communist podcast, but the company I work for, it sounds like there's been some turmoil up in upper management and this and that for the past year or two, and I've only been there for less than a year, but I saw an article this week that here's the companies that are trying to buy these portions of that company, and I work for one of those portions of the company, and I was like, oh, that's bad.
Boy,
that's not good. There was rumors that they wanted to sell off part of the business. Which parts exactly were kind of debatable. One part sounds like they really want to sell. The other part, they may or may not. But like, yeah, they're like, oh, here's these it was a stock market like article where they're like, here's these two major conglomerates and, you know, private equity firms that are trying to buy up these assets. And I was like, oh, fuck, I work for one of those assets. Son of a bitch. I'm going to have to find another job again. So, yeah, I might be on the run from private equity once again.
God.
Yeah, the company I work for, similar thing happened about a year ago, and, you know, nothing's changed that I can see, but who knows?
Sometimes it takes a few years, but the changes come.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll just go right into our next story here, which is going to be about Chinese EVs, which one of these days we'll do a more of a deep dive episode on, I'm sure. But for today, we'll just talk about this news briefly. This is from Business Insider, and the headline is, Ford's CEO and CFO took a drive in a Chinese EV. What they said about it reveals a lot about the state of the U.S. auto industry. So, you know, that sounds normal and fine, but let me explain the feelings that they had. Fucking panic. Fucking panic. So we've kind of touched on this before, but we all hear about, you know, oh, Chinese cars are dog shit or whatever, but like when the industry leaders go and experience what their cars have to offer, we get a little bit of an inside look into what they're actually feeling. So yeah, I read this and I didn't realize that this was like paywalled. I don't know if that's changed or what, but I'll start here, maybe while Brian's pulling it up or something, but basically, Ford C-suite executives were left humbled by China's electric vehicle makers after taking a test drive in a Chinese-made EV last year, according to the Wall Street Journal, which reported on Saturday, and this was back in September, because, you know, not that long ago. It's not that old, but some Ford people took a ride in one of their competitors' cars from the Chinese market, and yeah, they were humbled, you could say. The article does go on to they mention the quality kind of shocked them. They were surprised that like they could do the kinds of shit that was in that car at that price point. They were pretty dumbfounded.
Yeah.
So
I've got it here. If you use ad blocker software and JavaScript blocker,
I'm not a
works.
programmer. I don't know what any of that means. Brian hacked the system and got into the article.
I just have some Mozilla plugins. It's nothing.
He typed really fast, and then he looked at the camera and said, I'm in.
Hold on, guys. I'm breaking into the mainframe. Oh, I couldn't get in. They blocked me.
One thing I learned recently that I thought was interesting is that the CEO of Ford, Jim Farley, is the cousin of Chris Farley.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So Lawler, the CFO, said, Jim, this is like nothing before. These guys are ahead of us. And Jim said, John, this is an existential threat. So that's about all the direct quotes that there are in this.
And I think that's all that matters.
Yeah,
their raw words are, oh, fuck, this is bad.
They do mention that Chinese automakers like BYD have been dominating the EV race. For one, Chinese car makers have been making inroads into developing markets like Brazil and Mexico, as well as Southeast Asian countries like Thailand. So, I think we mentioned this in another episode, like, was it Nepal? There's like a huge number of EVs there now because gasoline is getting more expensive than electricity in a lot of places. And, there's also like, pollution in some of these major cities. So the local governments are doing incentives to have EVs come in. And yeah, I think, like you said, it's, kind of a testament to the sort of central planning, or I don't know what you would call the economy, the mixed economy of China, the incentives that they're giving to EV makers.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, they just have common sense, incentive structures for their companies. That's the benefit of, like, some degree of, central planning and a government that is supposed to work for the people doing something that resembles working for the people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course, when capitalists are forced to compete with, socialist countries, whether they use, some kind of market structures or what, when they have to compete with socialists, they're shitting their pants. Which, is so funny because these same people are always the first to trot out, oh my god, socialism always fails. Oh, it's so stupid. It never works. And then, of course, the minute they have to compete, they're ready to, take a shit in their diapers. So, that's the story. I mean, that's all that matters here, so...
What do you guys think? Do we got time for one more, or what do you want to do?
I think we got time for one more, and I'd like to do this because I think this will probably be the last chance we get before the election to talk about SEMA and their nonsense regarding the election, sort of. I mean, I don't give a shit about the election personally. Whoever wins, wins. This is, to me, a historical process is playing out, and my vote is not going to determine that at all, so...
Hey guys, my cat's being an absolute menace right now, so I think I'm gonna have to hop off. Sorry.
All right,
she's just
sounds good. Well, we'll just cover this one
ripping
real
through
quick.
the house.
And,
So
yeah, good luck, man.
thanks, appreciate it, guys.
All
Take
right.
it easy.
Good to see you, man.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
All right, we'll just cover this one real quick, because like
Yeah.
this will just basically be a lot less relevant real soon. And it's a bit of a callback to our previous episodes on the RPM Act and basically how SEMA is the whole reason the EPA started cracking down on, COB and automotive tuning stuff when they decided to, connect diesel tuners and doing their nonsense to, like, every car enthusiast. And so the EPA was like, wait a second, should we look at that too? And then they did.
Yeah.
So, of course, that was SEMA causing bullshit for all of us, which everyone places the blame on the EPA now because they're Americans and they don't know any better. But anyway, SEMA is up to their same old bullshit, so we'll just cover it real quick here. It's from the Jalopnik, and the headline is, SEMA is creating misleading propaganda about gas car bans now because we live in hell.
Oh, of course.
The whatever you call it, sub headline or whatever, is an organization called Driving Force Action claims there are ICE bans in the works and wants you to vote about it. Now, if, as you can imagine, they mean vote for Republicans about that, naturally, because you have to stop the evil communist, Marxist liberals who want to ban your internal combustion cars that, admittedly are cooking the fucking planet and killing people, but hey, who cares about that?
Real quick, I just saw something the other day that, the flight of one B-52 bomber, whatever their average flight time is, emits as much carbon as the average American car driving for 100 years.
Yeah,
so,
not surprising.
Maybe the military industrial complex could calm down a little bit and be in a better place.
Literally, the U.S. military is the biggest greenhouse gas emitter on the planet. So, and then, of course, all the U.S.-based oil, fossil fuel companies next.
Right.
So, woo, it's great. So anyway, article goes on. We'll just kind of breeze through this one real quick. If you follow automotive creators on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, you may have noticed a trend recently. Videos about a Biden-Harris ICE gas car ban set to kick in by 2032, which is notably pretty fucking far off, but, I guess nobody questions that, and instantly cull all enthusiast vehicles from American roads. None of these videos are particularly good at representing the truth of the situation, but they're very good at providing insight into something else, the political stance of SEMA. Which, it just sounds like typical right-wing, fucking nonsense. Like, just say a claim, doesn't have to be true, say it, make people panic, and they will believe it. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's literally all it takes. They're just like, yeah, the government's going to take our guns. And you're like, they've never done that. Like, not they're like, this is a false flag mass shooting to do. And you're like, there's a mass shooting every day. And they've never taken your guns. It's not going to work this time. But, you know, you can't convince them. So SEMA's playing on that.
You know, I've been hearing this is the most important election of our lifetimes.
You know, weirdly, I feel like that's true, but not in the way people think it is. I'm like, yeah, this is like the election where people are going to see that we're a fascist country no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, whether they recognize it or not is questionable, but yeah, this is going to be important because we're going to be a real fascist country no matter who wins. Like, scary fascist, real fast.
Yeah.
It's coming, baby.
I mean, I was listening to, the Chillbillies the other day, and they're like, yeah, basically it boils down to neocons versus open fascists.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just like...
I forget what their words were exactly, but that's what my takeaway was, you know?
Yeah. No, it feels like it. So it does feel like the most important election of our lifetimes, but the outcome of the election is not the important part. It's really just the time, you know?
Right.
That's my take on it. But, you know, vote how you will. We don't care if you want to vote or you're in a swing state and you want to do something you think is right. Power to you, you know? Who knows? I might even vote for a third party or something. But, yeah. Do what feels right with your conscience. Don't shame other people. Please, just leave other people alone.
Yeah, I mean, I'll quickly say I'm planning on voting for PSL, Party for Socialism and Liberation, because there's going to be at least the possibility of a write-in ballot in my state, but they're not on the ballot in all states, and partly that's the Democrats to blame.
Yep, because of the Democrats.
Kick them off.
Yeah, I think personally, they are also a write-in status in my state, and I was just like, I don't know. That feels to me, I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe I'd rather vote for Jill Stein if she's on the ballot, which I don't even know if she will be.
Right.
So, you know, I'll write them in if nobody else is on the ballot, but I'd like to pick someone who is on the ballot personally, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think it matters either way.
Right.
So I might not even show up. You know, we'll see.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah, but anyway, so let me continue here. Regarding those videos they were talking about, so each of those videos you've seen is paid for by an organization called Driving Force Action, which positions itself as a grassroots group, we've heard this before, of gearheads and small automotive businesses fighting to defend our freedom to ride. In reality, however, Driving Force is a tax-exempt super PAC put together by SEMA with the express purpose of pushing back against emissions regulations and funding extremist politicians to do so. What a surprise!
Yeah.
Who would have thought that a industry lobbying group who has a history of manufacturing bullshit would manufacture bullshit to get the worst, most evil people imaginable elected? And to be clear, I'm talking about mostly Republicans. I know it's a little confusing these days. So,
yeah.
In this case, we mean the most evil Republicans, which I guess in many contexts is worse. But, you know, anyway. So SEMA founded Driving Force in Virginia last year, where the organization got its start backing Governor Glenn Youngkin as he disentangled the state's emissions regulations from those of California, something SEMA called a significant victory. Youngkin also spent that time repealing COVID measures, setting up a snitch line for parents to complain about history being taught in schools, and waging war against his state's trans children. But hey, at least SEMA got its way on auto emissions. Which
sounds like a real cool guy.
Yeah, I think very cool. And, you know, yeah, anything for a buck, man. When you're an industry group, yeah, fuck those trans kids. Fuck the whatever else. I mean, who cares?
I don't remember a whole lot about him. I just remember that on Chapo they were calling him Glenn Otherkin, just to fuck with him. But
Yeah, sounds like an awful guy. Like, admittedly, Republicans are, of course, absolutely repulsive in the worst way imaginable. Democrats are awful in a different way.
Yeah, unless we're talking Irish Republicans, maybe. But that's
they're cool. Of course, I would never besmirch them. Driving Force has now turned that focus to the national stage, where the PAC has spent $44,000 so far this election cycle. Admittedly, not that much. Running ads that bash this mythical ICE ban, and not like a cool ICE ban, like getting rid of what is it, International Customs Enforcement or whatever the fuck, ICE, the shitty border people.
Right, yeah.
Not that. They mean, internal combustion engines. Anyway, even with the organization's own videos, which lead with clickbait headlines like the Biden-Harris administration is trying to ban all gas vehicles by 2032, which is not true, admit that the law in question is simply a tightening of emissions restrictions, which notably would not affect the pre-existing shitboxes about which their hosts seem so concerned.
Does it actually say shitboxes in the article?
Oh, yeah, this is Jalopnik. They're cool.
Oh, okay.
Jalopnik's actually cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're almost done here. The PAC is entirely funded by SEMA to the tune of $148,000 and some change dollars so far this election cycle, and doesn't seem interested in smaller donors. That's weird for a grassroots organization. That's so strange. Anyway, like many anti-environmental efforts, it has well-funded backers and doesn't need to rely on the goodwill or enthusiasm of regular people to get its way. It's also not the only political spending SEMA has made recently. Just this morning, while writing this post, the organization announced it had filed an amicus brief with the Supreme Court against California's emissions laws, which, definitely not going to be good. SEMA is increasingly making itself a big political spender, and it's using the faux grassroots organization Driving Force to launder its ideals, higher profit for its ICE-focused member companies through the lens of a commitment to automotive enthusiasm. Enthusiasts, however, will be just fine in the electric era. SEMA and Driving Force don't speak for us. So, yeah, SEMA up to their usual bullshit. But yeah, they're trying to influence this election. They're among many others trying to do so. But I don't know, watching the news lately, watching anything lately, I feel like there has been a noticeable right-wing shift. Even more so than, like, 2016. Like, it feels like, yikes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, when my
Democrats
liberal relatives... When my liberal relatives are like, we need to step up border enforcement.
It's
I'm
so
like,
crazy.
What the fuck?
I don't
How did this start?
Yeah, it is so crazy. I'm like, what the fuck? You all sound like Republican. America is really, we are the most propagandized people on earth. Like,
oh, yeah.
We are everything that, like, whatever Americans think about North Korea, that is here. Yeah. The cartoonish characterization of what happens there is what happens here. And I'm like, man, I just don't know a way out of that. But yeah, for a few less than $200,000, SEMA has tossed its hat into the ring of political misinformation. So, just as a sign of how bad times have gotten.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah. But we knew that, so welcome to capitalism, yada, yada, yada. You should follow us on social media and, rate and review our podcast if you like what we do. And tell your friends and family about us. I don't know. Yeah. Share our podcast with people who might be interested. I don't know. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
That's about all I got. I was trying to think of something clever to say, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm all out of clever things to say. Capitalism sucks.
Yep, it does.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody, whoever stayed this long.
Yeah. Good night.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Capitalism works, if it works at all, because it always has socialism to bail it out and to subsidize it.
Ask any race, any real race.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
In the 1980s, 50 corporations controlled most news media in America. By 1992, that number shrunk to 24. And today, only 6 corporations control 90% of everything Americans see, hear, and read. The money spent on the Iraq War alone, which killed 1 million people, 5% of Iraq's entire population, and planted the seeds for ISIS to flourish, could have covered all global investments to halt climate change trends.